A shocking day. A shocking day. I cannot believe what we have seen the regime do to the opposition party leader. Trumped up charges, this attempt to destroy this man, and ultimately resulting in such shocking news today. I'm not talking about Russia. No, I mean, Navalny died. I mean, that's crazy, but let's just be real. Yeah, it sucks. I'm not happy about the opposition leader in Russia dying, but I was talking about Donald Trump, because I live in this country. I don't live in Russia. So all of these woke and liberal journalists online freaking out that the Russian opposition party leader died in prison. Well, I agree, it's a shocking story, but y'all don't care one bit that Donald Trump today was ordered to pay $364 million in a New York civil fraud trial that he never actually got a trial on. It was ruled summary judgment. You did commit fraud, and now we're going to figure out how much fraud you committed, and they're going to take all your stuff. So here we go, baby. They think they're putting Trump down. They think they're going to stop him, but here's the best part. Okay, so I predicted this. They're going to rule that Trump owes hundreds of millions of dollars. They've already determined by summary judgment that his buildings are worth nothing. They tried claiming that Mar-a-Lago is worth like $20 million, despite the fact it is West Palm Beach property from coast to coast. You've got the inland and the ocean. So, yes, certainly worth more than that. And neighboring properties are worth more than $20 million. So they're lying. But here's the game plan. Now that Trump owes $364 million to New York, they're going to say, how are you going to pay us back? That building you have on Fifth Avenue, that's not worth $200 million. It's worth 10. And if you don't pay us back, we're going to take it. This way, they can claim it's only a couple $100 million, but they can try and seize all of his assets. Here's the best part. DWAC, Truth Social, just got approved for their special purpose acquisition, giving Trump an estimated share value of $3.8 billion. So Trump's net worth because of DWAC just skyrocketed. He can shave off 10% of those shares and flick it at New York and say, have a nice day. I know it's not so simple. There's no real guarantee he can do any of that. We'll see. We'll actually read the news. But this is tremendous for Trump and Truth Social. It would be hilarious if Trump just liquidates his DWAC holdings, takes billions of dollars, which would drop way down if he were to sell it, and then just comes back to Twitter, aka X. It'd be hilarious. So we're going to get into all that, talk about a lot of the news that's breaking. Before we get started, my friends, head over to eyesofadvice.com. And you'll need an Apple device like an iPhone or an iPad or something. And that will prompt iTunes to open where you can pre-order the new song, Eyes of Advice. Will be coming out February 23rd. So next week. And if you pre-order now, you're helping us to hit the charts, helping send a message. It is what it is. I mean, like, I'm not so, with Together Again, we were really trying to give a big middle finger to the music industry. With Ben Shapiro and Tom McDonald, we were trying to mock and insult the music industry, as well as help them succeed. And they did, hitting number 1 2 weeks in a row in sales, as well as number 16 on Hot 100. For Eyes of Advice, I'm really proud of the song. I really like the song. We're not going to go so hard with it. Please buy it if you want to support the work that we do so we can continue the mission. But I think the music video is really where it's at. So for now, eyesofadvice.com to pre-order the song. You'll need to install iTunes on your computer if you don't already have it. But when that music video drops, it is the most intensive video we've done. It is very, very artsy. It is it's just weird. You're going to be weirded out, and it's horror themed. You can tell by the image, and I'm really excited for it. So I'm really excited for that to come out. But also, you can buy your Cast Brew coffee to support the show. Shout out to Alex Stein. He's been promoting Cast Brew, and we did a deal with him. So we're really excited that on his show, he'll be promoting Cast Brew as well. And you can check out his work for more about that. But we've got Appalachian Nights, everybody's favorite. And of course, don't forget, what's the point of all the Cast Brew stuff? Physical locations. Coffee is the easiest thing to do in terms of setting up a physical location. And so, everybody and their mom's got a coffee company right now, and they go to these private labelers and they do all this stuff. That's what everybody does. My intention was not to create a coffee product to sell online. My intention was to create a physical location where y'all could hang out and there would be a place to meet and gather. And the cheapest and fastest way to do that is coffee, because you can walk in, you buy coffee. It's low cost, easy to set up. Everybody likes it. It's the path of least resistance. A diner would be hard. Maybe we'll have sandwiches. But on March 5th, we're already sold out at our Cast Brew location in Martinsburg, West Virginia, on the upper floors, private, members only, VIP live show. Dave Smith's going to be there. Hopefully Thomas Massey can show up because we asked him last night. He said, yeah, he might be in town. He might be able to stop by. So that's a maybe. I don't want to get everyone's hopes up. But support Casper at Casper.com and also become a member at Timcast.com by clicking Join Us, because we're hoping to have once a month a live show downtown Martinsburg, West Virginia. And aside from creating a space where y'all can hang out, share ideas, and just better organize, if you're an elite member of Timcast, you will have your own key card that gives you access to the upper floor, and upper floor is depending on what we're doing, but typically it's going to be the second floor with video games, arcade, TV, and just social club. We want to create a social club where people who have similar ideas and ideology can come together, and even not similar, debate and discuss things. And so we're really excited for this. And that's if you join us that's $100 a month, but this is access to like a physical space and location. For $10 a month, you'll get access to our Discord server, so you can hang out online with like-minded individuals, as well as our members only uncensored show Monday through Thursday. Thank you all so much. This was an extended shout out because we're only a couple weeks away to the first ever event at the first Cast Brew location, which will not even be open. But you'll be able to see through the window on the first floor to see where we're at, come up to the second floor and hang out. And of course, it's sold out already, so sorry. But we will have something special for elite members, a special dedicated area. And I think that may have gone out. I'm not sure. But anyway, smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else is Mario Fratto.
Thanks, Tim, for having me. This is awesome to be here with you guys. Huge fan of the show.
You want to get a little closer?
Yeah, sure.
Who are you? What do you do?
So I run my family's construction business right now. I used to be a lawyer. Don't hold that against me. But
we'll try.
I'm running for Congress right now in New York 24 in a Republican primary. I ran back in 2022. We got really close. First time running for office. Deciding to run it back. I'm running against one of the biggest rhinos in the state. Claudia Tenney. I mean, she has a 56% Liberty score.
Ooh.
Yeah, which means 44% of the time she votes with Democrats.
Wow.
Uniparty establishment, voted for the vaccine database, just voted to renew the 702 with the FISA for warrantless spying on Americans. One of only 24 that voted for taxpayer-funded sex changes. One of 30 to vote for amnesty with AOC and Pelosi.
So she's a Democrat.
Exactly.
Right.
And I've been trying to tell everybody, and I think now they're waking up, and I hope being here, people will see that and check out our site, check out the campaign, and help us fight, because we need political outsiders. These people are destroying the country.
Right on.
The last continuing resolution vote was 107 to 106 within the Republican Party. She was with the 107 to fund that Biden-Pelosi budget. If she would have voted the other way, we could say it's not the majority of Republicans. She would have changed that. But we keep electing these people, and then we say we want change.
More people got to start running. So shout out. Thanks for joining us. We got Phil Labonte hanging out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I am the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I am an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary, and we are here with the wonderful Liiby.
I'm Libby Emmons. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Post-Millennial and Human Events, and I'm in Ian's chair tonight. I'm glad to be hanging out.
Right on.
And I am here still. My name is Serge.com, and I am ready when you are, Tim.
Just one last thing. Go to Instagram, search for @Timcast. Follow me. I posted a video of Freedomistan, the news space. So it's 99. I keep saying it's done, and it is. But like, if you watch the video, we haven't hung one of the TVs up yet. So, work with me here. But you can see the new studio space, and it's a tour of the whole building. They're building the skate park right now if you want to see that video. But we'll jump into the news right here from the Post-Millennial. Breaking. President Trump. What's up?
Refresh it.
Refresh it. Oh, is that what you were saying? Why there's new information?
There was just a teensy little error.
Oh, an error. Okay, let's start over.
Anyway.
From the Post-Millennial. Breaking. President Trump ordered to pay $354 million in New York civil fraud trial, barred from running business in New York for 3 years. Judge Arthur Engron ordered Trump to pay over $354 million in damages. Eric Trump and Don Jr. were both ordered to pay $4 million, and Alan Weisselberg was ordered to pay $1 million. In addition, Engron's ruling prohibits Trump from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation or other legal entity in New York for a period of 3 years. Now, here's the important thing everyone needs to understand. There was no trial, okay? We can call this a civil fraud trial, but that happened a long time ago. The judge banged the gavel saying, it's true, we don't need a trial. Trump committed fraud. Next question. And what just resolved was essentially the damages and did Trump falsify records? But they already determined he committed fraud a long time ago. Trump never had a chance. In this, the actual trial, which I shouldn't even call the trial, in the sham trial, people who creditors of Donald Trump said he never did anything wrong. He was great to work with. He was one of the best. We made lots of money. We were all very happy. And the judge said, don't care. We've already determined he committed fraud. Next question. And now here we are, where New York is trying to strip Trump of his assets and resources because he is the opposition party leader.
Last night was a big old black pill, shoved it right down my throat. And this is not making anything better. I mean, like you said, it was already decided, which most people aren't really aware of that. I think your average person thinks that it's done and decided when the actual award is given and that news comes out. That's when people, at least psychologically, people think, okay, now he's actually been found guilty. Like when the sentencing comes out, that's when people feel like it's actually got closure or whatever. And the amount of people that are happy that this has happened, that he has been, charged with ridiculous fees, literally trying to put him out of business or do whatever they can to harm his business so that he can no longer be in business is what the goal would be. And again, this is the problem. We can bitch about the government all we want, but there are too many people that think this is okay. We have miseducated too many people.
Let me read this. In his decision, Engron wrote, their complete lack of contrition and remorse borders on pathological. He continued and said that Trump had engaged in venial sin. I just want to point out, I would show no remorse if I did nothing wrong. Like if I were to go into my kitchen and bake a delicious apple pie and someone came to me and says, do you regret and have remorse for baking said apple pie? I'd be like, I'm actually very proud of my apple pie. They'd be like, aha, he has no remorse or contrition. I didn't do anything wrong.
I've never felt bad for drinking water, man.
Yeah.
I like pie. I mean, come on.
Donald Trump
Wait a minute.
and the Trump organization effectively baked a delicious pie in how they ran the Trump organization, set up these buildings. The people that I've met who've worked for Trump, you go to Trump Tower, you go to Trump Durrell, they love the guy. You've got people now saying, I love this. I love telling that story. I was at the MGM when the guy with Trump derangement syndrome's yelling at me. He actually said, every business he's run has been bankrupt.
That's just such a fabrication.
1% of Trump's businesses have been in bankruptcy. 1%. And bankruptcy does not mean failed.
Yeah.
No.
But these people don't know anything.
No.
The other thing too is you have a businessman. My grandfather once told me that he had lost more money than he had ever earned. And he was a very wealthy man. Like you had to take risks. You go out there, you take risks. Sometimes it's a matzo ball. Sometimes it works out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of risks, and again, we talk about granted, the Trump stuff is one topic, but something that's related is the way that Elon Musk was treated by the Delaware court or whatever. The idea that the court can just decide that he can't get his severance package.
Right, that makes no sense.
Yeah, Tim was talking today. He's a Tesla owner. I own some Tesla stock, more than 9. I have more shares.
Should we sue?
I would go in if you want. I will put my name on it.
Let's throw this in there too. So Elon Musk in 2018 cut a deal with the directors that if Tesla reached a certain share value, he would get a certain number of shares. Today, that's about $60 billion. And it's a large portion of his net worth, his pay package. He accomplished all the goals. He did a great job as CEO. So some shareholder filed a lawsuit arguing that, no, those directors are not independent of him and work for him. So basically, it was not a real negotiation. I'm like, it's his company, and who cares? So it went to a court in Delaware where the judge agreed and nullified his pay package, his bonus, his pay structure as CEO. And now I'm pissed off because I own shares in Tesla. I don't own a lot, but I'd say I own a healthy number. And when I heard this, I'm like, so what? Now my stock value is going to go down because they've just they've destabilized the company. They've disincentivized people to be involved in the company. They've disincentivized the CEO. Now he's trying to restructure, moving the company from Delaware. It's going to a vote. All because one guy files the suit and a judge is like, sure. Now I want to sue the judge.
Yeah, I have.
I'm pissed off.
I have 12.95 shares, and that's more than the guy that actually brought up the lawsuit. The guy that brought up the lawsuit had 9 shares.
Are you kidding? I have 236 shares in Tesla.
So, I mean, he's the guy that brought it up had 9, and this action by the court has affected the amount of money that all of the shareholders make, because when that happened, the Tesla stocks fell. So there's a
7%.
Yeah.
7%
That's
it
a
went
lot.
down.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I mean, I don't know
down.
if there's any kind of, I don't know what the law is surrounding it, but there is definitely there was fiduciary damage by the state, and in violation of an agreement that everybody involved said was fine. And the whole point of it was to attack Elon Musk because they don't like him.
Who do we sue?
Pardon me?
Who do we sue? The
I
judge?
imagine it would be
Delaware.
It would probably be the state of Delaware. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is a perfect example, this case, of a political prosecution. Like, good on Elon Musk for coming out and starting to share his views. The second he became right of center, you're seeing stuff like this, where if this was a CEO that was just either quiet or to the left, this would never in a million years happen.
Never.
And I think, we obviously see with President Trump, it's the same thing. You can talk to any real estate expert, any real estate developer. They've never heard of a case like this. I was talking to one of the guys earlier, I think Charlie, off air about this, and we were saying that, this is like a case where somebody drives by you without their headlights on, and then you try to sue them for being negligent, but nothing happened. Whether what Trump did was right or wrong, nobody got hurt. All the people, as Tim said that they weren't hurt by it. The banks were happy. Everyone got paid back. There's no damages here. This judge was judge, jury, and executioner on Trump.
That's exactly
it was a
right.
one-sided deal. They're going to appeal it. And quite frankly, it's disgusting. And I think people right now are really upset. And this should not hold up on appeal. But then again, it's New York State, so anything's possible.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, that everyone's forgetting is that accounting is pretty much creative. So if you have an accountant who's going to certify your records and say, oh, this is worth this, we're basing it on this, that's that's how accounting goes. Accounting is pretty creative,
Let's
in the way that it's calculated.
Let's roll, baby. Grab me that camera. You see this right here? This here chicken? You can't see it too well, but there's a chicken behind me. Do you know what is the value of that painting?
Well, it's arbitrary, but I imagine because of the fact that it is hung in Timcast Studios, I mean, I imagine
I can tell you the value of that painting. The value is whatever the most someone will pay for it is.
I got to go to my accountant. I got to put a hard number on the asset because I think both Maryland and West Virginia have like this thing where you have to account for literally everything your business owns, including your chairs.
Yeah.
So what is the value of this painting?
I mean, everything.
Give me a number.
Let's say.
I would say $5,000.
I was literally going to say that.
That's because it's a
5,000.
really
Because
good number.
and because it's
Solid.
it's on all. It's
There's
been hanging up.
provenance. We know
there-
exactly where it came
Timcast
from.
fans have,
Tim, the question is, did Hunter Biden paint it or not?
He did, and therefore it's worth $500. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
So the painting was,
$350.
the painting was purchased for $2,000.
Wow.
It was part of an exhibit at a place called Nemacolin. It's just outside of Pittsburgh, and it's like I don't know how to describe what Nemacolin
That sounded
is.
so cool when you were describing it. It was like a big resort
Yeah.
snow place.
They've got hot
That's a
tubs in the
thing,
winter. Oh, like it was so great. There was snow everywhere, and you jump in the heated pool, and then jump into the snow, and then jump in the heated pool. And they've got skiing. So while people are skiing,
You ski?
snowboard. We're going snowboarding soon. A couple times. There's going to a snowstorm tonight. But while people are snowboarding next to us, we're in a heated pool. It's a great place. And when you walk through the halls, there were a bunch of paintings. And come on, when I saw a bunch of chicken paintings, immediately I was like, I must have it. And so I inquired, and they said, this is a good one. It's $2,000. And I thought to myself, I deserve a little treat, right? I'm going to get myself a picture of a chicken, and I'm going to hang it behind me because chickens are based AF.
And it's also a tax write-off because it's going in the studio.
Well, I didn't. No, I think
Creative accounting. You see how this works?
But I bought it personally.
Fair enough.
I bought it personally because I was like, I want this picture of this chicken. And but here's the reality: paintings retain value. They retain value because people who are trying to store value will use art as a means to do so. Not to mention, it's a really great painting. It took a long time to produce, and so the person who made it,
it is pretty realistic.
it might have taken a couple weeks to do, and so based on the value of the labor. Now that being said, it is not just a picture of a chicken. It is now the Timcast Studios chicken picture from the Tim Pool Daily Show, Timcast IRL, a top podcast, and one could argue, as you mentioned, because it's been hanging on the wall, it has more value.
That's how you add the 3,000 and you get to 5.
Well, not even that. I get an appraiser.
Right.
And an appraiser assigns a value based on their metric, and they could say 500. Who knows?
I'll put an appraiser that you're literally paying to appraise it.
Yup. And so, long story short, just, we're having fun talking about a chicken. when Donald Trump is looking at the values of his buildings, it fluctuates based on the market, based on the perceptions, and based on the perceptions of the people he's working with. When he goes to a creditor and he hands them documents saying, here's the estimated value based on the size, they compare that to other buildings they've lent on.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was going to say, and the whole point is, look, my family owns some property nowhere near these type of values. The bank pays and gets their own appraisal done.
Yeah.
They've never once relied on taking our word to rely on something to say, oh, it's worth $300,000. So with hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, you can bet that they would do it on their own. So if they really relied on that, that's on the bank, because they don't do it to an average Joe Schmo. This is it's on them.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast by Nick Ricada, and shout out Nicky. He's got a great podcast, and he was talking about the way that big deals like this are done, multiple millions of dollars. You don't go to a bank if you're trying to take out, $100 million loan. You don't go to a bank and say, check my FICO score.
No.
That's not how it works.
Right.
So your
My
average
credit score is 750.
Yeah, it's like, man, I got an 800. Yeah, you can guarantee I'm going to pay this back. It's like, that's not how it goes. There are special people that are specifically like have the authority or whatever that do this, and they decide. And the reason that they have that authority is to literally prevent this stuff. The government
Which
says,
in this case was prevented because loans were given and repaid.
The point of having these people that have a specialization is so that way the government can say, okay, we know that these are reliable, they're licensed, blah, blah, blah. You did all of the stuff to do this transaction in the state legally with the approval of the government. All of the parties involved are like, we like this. We made money. This is good. Everything's cool. And then the state steps in and says, hey, we're going to go ahead and ixnay this and blah, blah, blah. We were talking last night to Thomas Massey, and
I got to watch this episode.
The reason this is such a big deal is because property rights make your economy work. If your property rights are not secure, people stop investing. If there is a portion of the population that thinks, I'm not going to invest in the United States because the government doesn't like my politics, so that means I'm going to invest somewhere else. The government attacking people and using the government to take their property will destroy a country. It is literally what destroyed Venezuela. You can watch videos of I think it was Chavez was the guy, walking through the town saying expropriate, expropriate, expropriate. Mm-hmm. Now, this is more drastic than what's going on in the United States. But the point of it is, at this point, the government will break its own laws in violation of the will of the people involved in order to use the government to take property from a person because they don't like them.
And
this will destroy the United States economy. This will destroy the country.
But hold on, everybody. It is Friday night, and we are going to have a hearty laugh because we have this story from Fortune.com. SEC greenlights Trump's Truth Social public offering. Donald Trump's Truth Social is poised to make its Wall Street debut after the SEC finally cleared a controversial merger that was delayed for years as regulators conducted a thorough inquiry. The SEC has cleared the merger of Trump Media and Technology Group, which owns Truth Social, and Digital World Acquisition Corp, DWAC, a SPAC, which is a special purpose acquisition company, which plans to bring the company public. That could give Trump a sizable ownership stake in the company. Trump is set to own roughly 79 million shares of the company, valued at $49.50 per share, which basically gives Trump $4 billion. I would love it. I would love it. That's a B, okay? If Donald Trump,
I love
this goes through, and then he shaves off 7 or 8% and says, what was that in New York? I owed you how much? Let me write you a check. Get the out of here. That's it.
Just puts it in
Done.
escrow and then also appeals and gets
it would be
back.
funnier if you just gave him DWAC's shares.
Right. And
If
just
he was like,
here you go.
I'll give you 7 million shares in DWAC, which would cover the costs. And then they're sitting there holding DWAC shares like, okay, I guess. Like, what do you do? So, wow.
Back to what Phil was saying though about private property rights. That's how you destroy a country. That's what you call like the slippery slope, right? Like 100%. We're not all the way. We're not the Soviet Union or Venezuela, but that's how it starts, right? And like the second people think that their property's not safe, that they can kick you out of your business, and they're doing it for political reasons. We're on the road to that.
And the point, that's a great point. And the problem isn't the government. As much as the government is carrying this out, it's that the society we live in is accepting this. Because if society accepts it,
but
then
society is accepting all kinds of totally wackadoo nonsense.
Hopefully, people. I hope that people are waking up to the wackadoo. I feel like there are people that have started to realize what's going on. I don't feel like the tide is turning, but I feel like there are people waking up that are saying that are saying that they notice stuff, and that the people that have been saying this is bad are not crazy. They're like, wait a minute. Maybe the conservatives and the libertarians and the people that are talking about classical liberalism, maybe they're not crazy. Maybe it is bad to have LGBT stuff in the schools.
I'm starting to think Tim is right, and I'm starting to be a little more optimistic. It started last week when I started to be a little more optimistic.
Things are going in a positive direction?
That things are going in a positive direction. I started thinking like, what happened is, this is going to sound dumb, but I haven't written any plays since I got canceled a few years ago or whenever that was in 2018. And I started like writing some dialogue, and I don't know, it's like just whatever, but I hadn't felt like I was even in remotely a place like to write any dialogue at all. And it made me feel really optimistic. And I thought, if I'm having this feeling, I must be feeling optimistic.
I have an anecdote I'll share about that later.
It's a little anecdotal, but
let me tell you why we should be hopeful. Look, we're still in the thick of things.
Yeah.
There is a potential for escalation. I mean, look, they're going after Trump full force. We got to be vigilant. We've got to make sure we're organized. We're encouraging our friends to register to vote.
Yep.
That is the attack vector right now. It is. We must vote and be prepared that there is currently a shadow campaign. If you think there was a shadow campaign in 2020 and they admitted to it, there's definitely one today. So we have to be overwhelming. We need people planning lawsuits. We need every political activist imaginable. But let me just pause and tell you why good things are abound. First, let me start with Joe Rogan's Spotify deal. Maybe the most important cultural news we've had in years. Why? Joe Rogan signs a deal with Spotify, moves his show to Spotify, several episodes disappear. That is an indicator of certain episodes are controversial. We don't want to be involved with whatever happened. I don't know. Maybe Joe took them down. Maybe they didn't. Some people were concerned. Some people said it was every episode where he said the N-word. Yikes. Well, here's what happened now. Spotify has done another deal with Joe, not for exclusivity, but for essentially ad rights and to distribute the show everywhere. What does this mean? Spotify's first deal with Rogan was, if you bring your show to us, we will pay you lots of money. They wanted more people to sign up for Spotify. The new deal is, do your show everywhere, but we get to sell ads. Why is that good news? It means they are confident advertisers will back Joe Rogan. They are not worried about the controversy at all, to the tune of a minimum guarantee of $250 million. If advertisers boycott Joe Rogan, Spotify's going to lose $250 million. They're not worried about it. Now here's where it gets even better. Money talks, BS walks. All the woke people in the world can say anything they want, but if they don't have the ability to employ people anymore, it's not going to matter, right? I often tell this story that I met a pro skateboarder. And, the question was brought up during a skate session by someone else, like, why don't you speak up and call these things out? And they were like, I don't want to lose my sponsors. It's like, it's not so easy. I only make, $50,000 a year or whatever. I'm not a big shot, and I can't do it. And I said, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to start our own skate company and we're going to pay you more. And then when your sponsor says, don't speak up, you can then say to them, well, I got to be honest, my other sponsor pays me twice as much as you do, so I'm going to speak up because they won't fire me over it. They've given me those assurances. And when I do speak up, I'm going to tell everybody you dropped me and I'm going to put the focus on you. And they're going to go, no, wait, please don't, please don't. So this will force these companies into an inverse position. With Donald Trump potentially about to secure $4 billion in cash for his social media platform. You know what this means? It means that there's going to be a lot of people who want a piece of that pie. Yeah. There are people all over this world who will lie, cheat, and steal to get a piece of that sweet, sweet green. And Donald Trump just got a whole lot of it. I can't tell you, but you can probably guess how many people and which people are going to immediately turn around and say, I don't mind Trump. I was being honestly critical of him, but I'd love to get a contract with his new company because we do social media tech. I mean, there's going to be tons of people who are on social media whinging about Trump because they were like, this is the popular thing to do. But when Donald Trump turns around with $4 billion in shares that he can use to build up the platform, invest in the platform, you're going to have all of these people being like, I was never anti-Trump. I was just being, fair. But yes, Trump, how much are you going to pay me? If Donald Trump goes to, I'll tell you this. You take your average Trump derangement syndrome person. I say average, not your most extreme. Like your default liberal who's like, I don't like Trump. And you go up to this person and you say, why don't you like Trump? Like, are you kidding? Trump's a fascist. You go, wow. Anyway, I've got a job for you. How would you like to make $100,000 a year? And they'll go, yes, please. What do you want me to do? Well, I need a painting of Donald Trump giving a high five to his supporters. Yeah, no problem. No, for sure. I don't got that big of a problem with Trump. I'll be honest. Like, I'm critical of some things, but I guarantee you, most people who are anti-Trump, these are the default liberals who are only saying it because they don't want to lose their jobs and don't care. And when money comes around, they will immediately say Trump's the best.
And it's important to point out that this is the goal. Okay, this is like, remember, we're not trying to like be like we need to make everybody pay for saying bad things about Donald Trump and blah blah blah. The goal is to convince people to come to our side. So like when people start saying that stuff, welcome them. You'll know they're BSing and it's okay. Just because they're BSing doesn't mean you have to call them out. Just snicker a little bit inside and be like, yeah, man, cool. No sweat.
Let's play this video real quick while he's talking. So this is, it's really hard to see. I can't make it any bigger. Actually, you know what? Maybe I can pull it up on Twitter. If I pull up the video on Twitter, it'll be a little bit easier. We can make it full screen.
I was going to say what you said, Tim. It's like everybody's got a price, like the $1 Million Man in WWF wrestling used to say. They do those skits. He'd go in a diner and try to get ahead of the line. Yeah, remember Ted DiBiase? But it's the truth, man.
Here, check this out. So this is the sides are cut off a little bit, but we don't need to play that. So here's how it works. Skate Park Construction Company, one of the best in the world, has put together this phase 1. Which is a $250,000 wood skate light construct, which is currently underway. The materials just arrived. It's also additionally a tour of the building. Take a look at this. This is our new green room. TV hasn't gone up yet. We have space toilets. I just want to let you guys know. The toilets at the new Timcast studio are the very fancy ones that have air dryers in them.
The bidets?
Built in front and back. And an air dryer. And here's the...
it's good they have the air dryers.
Here's the new studio.
Walking around moist underneath.
We're still looking at we're going to hang the guitars on the wall. We're setting up an area for music to be played acoustic like we have in the back, but then we're building a bigger stage area. Most importantly, the reason I'm showing this, we are investing about $2 million total in what may be one of the largest semi-private action sports spaces in the country by the time it's completed. This will include what's called a mini mega ramp, which is it's like a big ski jump for those that don't understand, but for skateboards, bikes, whatever you want to use. And as the saying goes, if you build it, they will come.
That's true. This
is what all of the big pros in the industry have told me. If you build this, they will come. And so here's why we are winning. There were forces in skateboarding that were overly woke and still are and have been pushing, but they're starting to lose. More and more pro skateboarders, and I know, many of you don't care about skateboarding. That's fine. Just think pro athlete, because it's a big industry with a lot of famous people and billions of dollars behind it. It just happens to be the one where we have expertise. So we're building a company. We have money behind this. We have large sums to invest. Right now, one of my favorite websites and YouTube channels, The Barracks, is facing financial hardship. And I'm concerned about it because The Barracks is an icon in skateboarding. And so the fear for so many professionals is this: we're losing money. Can we survive in this industry in this way? How do we do this? At the same time as there are concerns about the Barracks, and I shout out to Steve Barra. I hope you guys figure it out. I hope it's just a bump in the road. We're building an East Coast, they're West Coast, we're building an East Coast facility. And all of a sudden there's a bunch of pros who in the past said, I'm too scared to speak up because I'll lose my job. Now publicly speaking up, commenting, sharing things. And when people respond with, you're hanging out with fascists, they just put LOL. They don't care anymore because it's this simple. A lot of these people are good people, but they're scared that there is a mob surrounding them. It is not really true. There's a small amount of people. They don't control that much. But when people get angry emails, they panic. Now that we are building a board company, we're building merch, we're producing merch, we're building a massive skate park and skate media. And we go to these big companies and we tell them we're putting millions in, millions upon millions. I mean, in the 10-year plan is probably massive. They immediately say, sign me up. I don't want to get too much into it, but we have been attacked by far left activists who have tried to get this shut down. And in the end,
Your private building, they've tried to get your own.
I'll be very vague with it because
Okay,
there's private matters involved with third parties, but there have been attempts to shut what we are doing down. The plan is not just about this building, it's a lot what we're doing. And ultimately the conversation came down to, are you really concerned about the opinions of these activists? I'm about to write you a check for $500,000. Like, no. Everything's great. Everything's fine. No. Please don't cancel on us. And I'm like, okay, we're good. Build it. And it's not these guys. These guys are great. But I'm just saying, like, we've had conversations where I go to these guys and I'm like, look, are you scared of these far left activists? And they're like, well, we don't want to risk our business. And I was like, I could write a check for $500,000 right now to commit to a contract with your company. And they go, done. We'll hang up on the next time they call. There ain't no position these people can take when I'm dangling a check with, I will be a customer for you. I will produce media that will promote your company. I will sponsor more skateboarders, which will in turn result in more public jurisdictions wanting skateboarding, skate products, more skate shops. This will boost the industry. Or you can go hang out with those activists. And they're immediately like, nah, we don't care about that stuff. Let's roll, baby. So simplified, long story short, we're winning.
The problem with that is like the opposite is true. And I think Tucker had something on he had the guy talking about Ozempic and the pharmaceutical ads. He's saying all these news companies, they're taking such a share of their revenue and advertising from the pharmaceutical companies to the news stations, and they won't call out these drugs. So whether it was with the vax, whatever it was, if your sponsor is these people, the last thing you're going to do is start dumping on them. So we can't get real news anymore.
Yeah. But don't worry, because Timcast is sponsored by castbrew.com. So long as people buy products from Public Square companies and companies that are on Public Square or Public Square in general has sponsored us several times, we are building a parallel economy. And here's the best part. I love the meme of the brought to you by Pfizer. Brought to you by Pfizer. Well, guess what? All those companies are laying people off and shutting down.
That's
so
true.
Brought to you by who cares? They're losing.
Even the Super Bowl. Did you see that Pfizer ad? And then it's like at the end they said, oh, they're on the road to curing cancer, and they sponsored the Super Bowl. And I'm like, how do these people flip that switch like that? They go from pushing this to being like, oh, by the way, we're curing cancer.
But let them, right?
Yeah.
Because the landscape is shifting. Wall Street Journal. I like Wall Street Journal, but they're laying people off. LA Times laying people off. CBS just fired a bunch of journalists, and I'm like, I'm sitting back and laughing my ass off as people like Taylor Lorenz try to rag on the work we do while she's basically on the verge of being unemployed along with all the rest of them. I think she still works for the Washington Post or whatever.
She does. She's still like the tech reporter.
Right. And so she's producing TikTok videos.
And where she wears masks too. She still wears masks.
TikTok videos?
No, but like when she's mostly on Threads, and like it's all this mask content that she wears. But yeah, I mean, Public Square sponsored Bethany Hamilton, which was so cool, and Rip Curl, owned themselves by being like, this is a woman surfer, and it's just this big fella on a surfboard.
Well, so it was the surfer.
Yeah.
She lost an arm in a shark attack, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
she sure did.
And
She's fascinating.
she had choice words about males competing in female sports. So they were like, goodbye, Public Square. I didn't know this. They sponsored her.
Public Square sponsored her.
Public Square.
It's
shout
really
out,
cool.
guys. You got to download the app Public Square, because this is exactly what I'm talking about, and it's not just us that's doing it. When you download Public Square and you use the app, and you will see all the companies that agree with your values and have taken a pledge to support American values and family values. Public Square is using that money to promote professional athletes and reinvest in people who share our values. Shout out to pro skateboarder Beaver Fleming, who he does double backflips, 70 feet in the air, sponsored by Public Square.
That's awesome.
Yep. It is absolutely amazing to see that there are now pro athletes that can make a living without fear, and they can speak up and they can say no to the woke cult, because we have built and we are building a parallel economy.
Yeah, I think it's very cool that you've done that with skating, because it's like skating was always such a counterculture thing. and now it gets to be a counterculture thing again.
Yeah.
Well, it's Olympic, so
Right.
that's the challenge,
To Mario's point, the Brett Weinstein I heard him talking about 0 is a special number, right? When you don't have anywhere to go that's safe to talk about dissident ideas and stuff, then the powers that be or whatever the media corporate media or whatever can really shut it down. But since Elon Musk has bought Twitter and has made it so that way topics don't get shut out, right? Like if you have vulgarities and you're offensive or whatever to people intentionally, they will boot people for that stuff. And I know there are purists that hate that, but there aren't topics that are off limits on Twitter. And because of that, like, it is changing the world. And because there is one place that has that, the other outlets are responding. The grip that like woke had began to really loosen up. And 2 points. One, the LGBT stuff last year in the summer, and then when Elon Musk got his hands on Twitter or X and bought it. That's when the iron grip of the woke started to really loosen up, and people started to say, wait a minute, maybe this isn't good. That's when all of the people that were talking about their negative reactions to the vaccine started to be able to say, like, I can actually talk about this stuff now. Mm-hmm. That one location or that one place where people could go made it so that all of the other places had to respond. And now you have CNN that's actually marginally critical. Like there was someone that was actually when they were talking about the court case yesterday where Fanny was embarrassing herself. Like they were actually,
that was an embarrassment.
It was, and they weren't trying. It didn't sound like they were trying to cover it over and stuff. And granted, it's not the best coverage or anything, but it is a response, and it does show that everyone else is noticing that there is a lot of people that are on Twitter.
Did you hear how she was talking about like, I just keep cash in my house, and
Yes,
then
I mean-
no.
Wait,
But then how she took the money out of her campaign,
Yeah.
and brought that to her house, like
But hold on. That was there's an argument against that because that was an out of context clip. I'm not saying it's an absolute defense, but an NPR reporter pointed out early in her testimony, she said she withdrew $50,000 from her retirement to fund her campaign. Mm-hmm. When she took that money out of her retirement, she kept a portion of it as cash in her house and put the rest in it.
I see. Because I watched the whole thing, but I did miss that part.
And people thought she was saying, but here's the point, just because she may have taken money out of her retirement to her campaign doesn't mean she didn't mean, because she said I took money out on my campaign.
Yeah, we don't know for sure. Yeah.
But let's do this. We have an article from SCNR.com. DA Fannie Willis's father. Hiding cash is a black thing. I kid you not. He was asked, Willis's father, quote, "Excuse me, Your Honor, I'm not trying to be racist, okay, but it's a black thing," Floyd said per Fox News. Willis had testified her father had encouraged her to always have cash on hand. Quote, "Most black folks, they hide cash," said Floyd. "They keep cash." So a lot of people, of course, are saying this is a weird racist thing, but I don't know what else to say or respond to it. I just want to point out that it doesn't matter what your race is. There are a lot of people who hide cash.
Yeah. And Phil,
We're all
just back to your point about like what Elon did. I actually got banned after Elon took over on a trans issue. I just posted one of those Venn diagrams, and like Fox did a story on it. It was crazy. It was literally just showing men and women, and then where it intersected in the middle, it said mental illness. I got a thing saying it was illegal what I said in France, and because it was illegal in France, I could not get my account back.
This nature as well.
They wouldn't give it back to me till I deleted it. But just the point, he went out saying, this is the new town square. It's so important. And then even there on something like that, they forced me to comply, and eventually
those are the EU rules.
Right.
Like the EU is different.
Right.
But what the EU has to say shouldn't impact what
Exactly.
Americans have to say.
Or at least say my tweets won't show up there.
We should absolutely have no. So-called international law should have nothing to do with the United States.
American citizens should always reply with poop emojis to that stuff. Just
mad.
Yeah, like I don't care. I don't care what your laws are. I'm here. I fart in your general direction.
Right, like that stupid Ice Spice song. Right?
I'm not
like a fart song?
Yes, it is, and
that song is like Idiocracy. It's like the summation of Idiocracy.
It's rough.
And Taylor Swift brought her to the Super Bowl, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, go to the Super Bowl. Just stop singing, like whatever you do, and you're not singing, so just stop doing whatever that is.
I had fun with the pictures of Taylor and Ice Spice at the Super Bowl. I kept being like, "Why is this young man stalking Lana Del Rey? Why is this?" Just like, who is this young man hanging out with Taylor Swift?
It's pretty funny. Does Travis know?
Yeah, does Travis know? It's not gonna.
Yeah. Do we think that hiding cash is a black thing?
Let's try again. We have this story from SCNR.com. DA Fannie Willis's father. Hiding cash is a black thing. John C. Floyd III, a former Black Panther, moved in with his daughter in the summer of 2019. So basically, if you guys were following the testimony, she would not testify today. She was supposed to. And the argument was they felt she was very strong in her initial testimony. Strong in terms of like burning herself to the ground. But for those that missed us yesterday, here's where we're at. So she pays her boyfriend a lot of money to take this job prosecuting the lead prosecutor against Donald Trump and his associates. He's reportedly paid substantially more than they normally get paid. He then pays for several lavish vacations for the DA.
On continents that she doesn't know where they are.
On continents where she doesn't know where they are. And she had filled out a form saying she had never received a gift from a prohibited person. So, we got trouble here. He paid for these vacations. She said she never got a gift. What does that mean? Oh, she said, I paid him back in cash.
Cash from my house.
Thousands of dollars in cash from my house that I had. And why? Well, I go to Publix and I take $50 and I just leave it and keep it. And my dad always told me to keep cash on hand. And she filibustered a lot. She's like, my dad would probably be upset with me because I only had about 9,000 and he always tells me to have more. So where we are today is she wouldn't testify, but her father testifies that, quote, excuse me, Your Honor, I'm not trying to be racist, okay, but it's a black thing, Floyd said per Fox News. Most black folks, they hide cash. They keep cash. Well, I don't know why he would say it was a racist thing because he is a black man. He's allowed to say that he perceives this in the community. I would just like to point out that everybody hides cash. Like, you're supposed to have a certain amount of cash on hand, regardless of your race.
Look, I'm not telling anybody how to live or whatever, right? But like, if you have the ability to have some money on hand, it's not a terrible idea, So it's not like
my stepmom used to always say keep some mad money around.
Personally, listen.
And that's what she would always say.
Wait. How much money in cash is reasonable to have for an emergency?
So for me personally,
I would say go ahead.
So for me personally, I like to have like just a couple gold coins because they're easily fun. You can sell them real easy, and because of inflation, they'll hold their value. So if you're worried about keeping some gold, now I'm just saying just a little bit, like 2 or 3 gold coins because
But
if you need to sell them,
they've not really held their value.
Gold's like 2,000 now,
and it's been 2,000 for a while.
It was like 17. Well, in the early part in like 2010, 2011, I was buying them at 1750 or so.
Now Bitcoin,
yeah, of course.
Your 10-year return on Bitcoin is 15,000%.
I mean, I'm a dude that believes in Bitcoin the way that like Jack believes in Bitcoin. So I'm a little more than just it's still
I do agree with you on gold.
Yeah,
I think anybody who's
just
like,
a little though.
You always want to diversify what your hard assets are to have
100%.
lying around, and I definitely have gold and silver, but I don't know that $9,000 in cash just lying around is a good idea.
Dangerous. There's fires. There's.
But I mean, it
burglaries.
depends on how much you have, right? Like what percentage? Like obviously Trump or Elon Musk, they might have millions in cash or hundreds of thousands.
No, that would be crazy.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, depending on a percentage of what you own.
No way.
You see like some of these athletes like Floyd Mayweather, he's shown $2 million on a table, $3 million.
They usually do that when they get paid.
Stupid.
They usually do that when they get paid too. They'll be like, if they have like a fight or whatever going on, they're like, okay, you have to get me cash, and they'll get cash.
Right. Yeah.
The casino, whatever, usually because they'll have it on hand, and they'll get a picture because look at how much cash I got.
Didn't Nathan Wade, the boyfriend, say that he got paid by his clients in cash?
I don't know. I can't.
I was watching The Five. I think it was like Greg Gutfeld and they were and Jesse Waters, and they were just like, "What lawyer takes large sums of money from their clients in cash?" He's like, "I don't have receipts for it. I can't track it."
That's that's like
no.
Like,
you get an invoice in your email and you click pay.
Like
that's what we do.
Right.
Yeah, if you do that
Unless
kind of
you do
stuff,
like a barter system. Remember like Atticus and To Kill a Mockingbird? He took.
Phil, you're saying
barter.
a couple gold coins. You're talking about $4,000 to $6,000 in value, but that's not cash.
Yep.
That's just like. She has money to spend.
Yeah.
To pay back, she goes to Belize with thousands of dollars on her to give back.
That seemed wacky, taking like a whole bunch of American currency to Belize, and then you have to like tell them when you get off the airplane that you brought all this cash. It's the worst thing to do. And then you're like hanging around like this lady. You're clearly getting drunk because she likes the Grey Goose, driving around in taxis. She's just carrying massive amounts of cash. Is she leaving it in the hotel? Like that's what I started to wonder. Like, what are you doing with the cash as you're walking around?
Okay, did she say she paid him back in Belize when he bought the ticket? Because maybe she was like, I paid him back when we got home.
She said that she paid him back $2,500 in cash at one point. She said that.
I mean, that's
It's insane. I'm sorry, she's lying.
yeah, that's the red
That
flag.
sounds
It's the
kinda
easiest thing. That's why the government doesn't want people to deal in cash. That's why they're pushing us to try to have digital currency because there's no way to prove any transaction, and that's why anything illegal is done in cash. And it's just an easy excuse. Oh, I'm
That's
sorry, I
just a
paid
silver
cash.
lining. That's a silver lining for the CBDC is way more nefarious than that. But yes, that is one of the reasons.
Can we just address the elephant in the room? Fannie Willis was wearing her dress backwards.
No, it wasn't backwards. It wasn't backwards.
That you mean they put that actual
Yeah,
that
there's a
little tiny
zipper
one?
in the front, in the back. It's weird. It's an Amazon
in the
dress.
front and the back.
We went all
That's
through
weird.
this, me and Hannah at work. We went all through pictures of this dress.
And it is not backwards.
I do not believe that it is backwards.
I saw a listing for the dress that looked identical to this. There was a woman who was like a fashion person who named the exact model and where it came from and who produced it, and the zipper's in the back.
Yeah, we saw that too because it has literally a zipper in the back and the front.
I think it's just so believable though because it's her. Like after seeing her speak and watching this whole thing unfold, it's like she seems like she would do it.
See this? See, it has a zipper in the back and the front.
That's weird, man.
Is that the one though?
Yeah, that's the one that the other lady was saying it was.
Usually the zippers are in the
Angelina-
back anyway.
Yeah,
I know.
That's-
That's why everybody immediately was like, "Is that backwards?" Because women, the dress, the zipper's in the back, obviously. So when you're,
But this one has.
do you know why men wear ties?
This one has a zipper in the front and the back.
But is that the right one?
This is what we determined when we decided we couldn't write an article about.
You want me to
how
just
she
text my wife
dress
and
was
solve
backwards.
this?
Well, so all the news articles say, "Did she wear it backwards?"
Right,
Because
that's
no one
what we
knows for
were-
sure.
yeah, no one knows for sure.
Men wear
just
ties
think
because the
she
tie
needs a
covers your
little-
buttons,
Right.
and so the zipper would be in the back.
Well, and also,
Yeah, it doesn't look good like that. I mean,
also,
Yeah,
no,
I know. It
it's a
looks
terrible
like-
dress. I mean, it's an Amazon dress. You buy this dress on Amazon for $42.99. It's not going to be a good
and
dress.
she's got $9,000 cash laying around.
Right? Why is she buying a dress for less than $50 off of Amazon? I don't understand that one.
Yeah,
I
this
don't-
was the. It's funny that the dress became this big of an issue. When you see how many stories, it's just like
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot.
The dress is always the issue. Remember that?
Oh,
remember
boy.
that black and that stripy dress, and no one knew what color it was.
Remember the
Broke
blue
the internet.
dress?
That's what I'm talking
no,
about.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the blue dress from
90s.
the 90s.
The blue dress from the '90s. What, like
Bill Clinton.
Just a J-Lo thing?
Oh, Bill
oh
Clinton,
Monica
that's the
Lewinsky's
that's
dress.
the most impactful dress of the past
right,
50
right.
years for sure. I can't believe you didn't jump on that one. I was like, man,
Monica Lewinsky's dress. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember seeing that dress. I just remember Monica Lewinsky.
Her American flag pin is sideways.
Yeah.
Well, come on, that happens. You bump it, it'll spin.
the pin
Also, she
stuff
was
is
clearly. I just think she needs better undergarments. Frankly, I mean, her was not looking great.
Oh yeah, she is out of shape.
Definitely a little bit of a frumpy over there.
Well, you know what really bothered me about this testimony is how she filibusters. You can't get her to answer a single question, and the judge is just like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me, dude?" They ask a basic question like, "What did you have for lunch?" Yes. What did you have for lunch? What is you? What's this? Like, you as a human being, do you eat lunch? What do you mean by lunch? Oh my! And the judge is just like, "I'll allow it."
What was funny too is she kept talking about how she doesn't eat lunch in her office, but then every time she was talking about doing stuff with friends, it was driving 5 hours to have lunch.
That's contempt. It's just contempt. And again, this points to what we were talking about earlier. How like if the courts are not going to be held accountable or actually uphold the law, then we have a massive problem. It's contempt. There's no two ways about it.
They allow it because of Democrats. Back to what you said about Bill Clinton. Remember when he was getting questioned during his deposition, and he said, "It depends what the meaning of is
Yeah.
is."
But
the
And
thing
I'm
is
like,
that-
"Are you allowing like?"
So that's I get that, and that's
meaning
that's
of is
lawyer
is.
stuff, and I get it. That like that's one thing that pisses people off about lawyers. But that was a lawyer tactic. That wasn't the actual justice system, right? So that was a
Right.
lawyer and a president defending himself. This is the actual justice
Right.
system,
This is in the
allowing
courtroom.
someone in the justice system to just sit there and filibuster and deceive the court and stuff. This should be something that the court wants to prevent from happening, but they don't. They're just allowing it.
You can interpret anything any way you want and say whatever you want. For instance, if you own two homes, you can claim one as your official residence while sleeping at the other. This creates a circumstance where you can claim to live at either. So someone says, did you invite the milkman to your house? To my house? What do you mean? Like to the place you live? Oh, no. You did not? No. Okay, well, now it's the place you live. Well, I interpret that in any way that's beneficial to me. So are you asking my official residence? That's where I legally live. Or are you talking about where I typically sleep? That's where I live. That's where I personally live. So depending on how I need to answer, you can just say whatever. And that's what she's doing.
Right.
So they're like, the place you rest your head. Got ya. I don't. So the answer is no. I didn't invite the person to the place I rest my head. Why? I never rest my head. I sleep sitting up. Prove I don't. It was a weird question, Your Honor. I mean, I was asked where I rest my head. What does that even mean? Why didn't they just ask me of my residence? And you can just say whatever you want.
And
that's
point
what she's
is,
doing.
well, and she's supposed to be like a sophisticated witness. Like you said, she's in the justice system. Like she knows what she's doing here. So this isn't like somebody they just pulled off the street. She knows what they're asking. She knows how to answer the questions.
She should be treated
a higher standard.
Should be treated as a
bottom
hostile
line.
witness. Should
Yeah.
be held in contempt of court.
Well,
She
they
absolutely-
were trying to treat her as a hostile witness for a second. She was like, "No, I want to be here. I'm not a hostile witness. I've
They had
been
to
really
explain
looking
to her
forward to this."
What
what
adverse?
adverse. Yeah. They
Yeah.
were like adverse. Means
She
you're
didn't.
not.
A lot of people were making fun of her because she didn't know the difference between adverse and hostile.
Right.
I was just making fun of her
but let
because
me-
she didn't know what continent Belize was on.
I think most people need to understand something. So when I was 18, my brother and I were at a shopping mall in the south side of Chicago when, for seemingly no reason, security guards started beating the crap out of us. Mostly my brother. And then when I tried calling 911, because I'm like 3 dudes just started beating the crap out of my brother, they bashed his head on the ground. When I called 911, they grabbed my phone and turned it off. Then 911 called back. But at this point, they've pinned me to the ground and this big fat guy sitting on me. And my phone's ringing. And I was like, that's the police. And he holds it in front of me and he presses end and he puts it down. What had happened was someone else had been accused of shoplifting. These overzealous guys saw us and assumed it was us. And when they found nothing on us, did we just randomly grab 2 customers and beat the crap out of them? So the police show up and I tell the officers, I'm the one who called 911 and I'd like to press charges. And the cop talked to the security guards and the security guards made up a story, claimed that me and my brother were screaming at people and swearing, causing a disturbance and refused to leave. I said, check the cameras. That's not true. We were walking around shopping and nothing happened. And he goes, don't care. And he's like, we don't file cross complaints.
Wow.
When we went to court, what had happened was the reason they tried to they tried to get us to plead guilty. We said no. They ended up offering a plea agreement for both of us, which would be community service. And so ultimately we were like, it's like 6 months later, my brother and I talked about it. And we asked the lawyer, like, what's the worst case? They charged my brother with assault and me with disorderly conduct. And they're like, what's the worst case scenario if Chris gets convicted? They were like, worst case, 6 months in jail. Probably not going to happen. What's the worst case for me? And he said 1 month disorderly conduct, likely community service if you do. And so my brother goes, I'll take the plea then, take the community service. And then I said, I'll go to trial because my worst case scenario is a month. And when the DA heard this, she audibly screamed in the court.
She screamed?
Yes. What? Like, why would we turn down a plea agreement for community service?
Because you don't want to put down that you're guilty if you're
because
not.
we're innocent.
Yeah.
And so the judge was like, calm down. So my brother hears her scream. Our lawyer walks back over to us and my brother goes, what's her problem? Why does she hate me so much? And he was like, I don't know. And he goes, I want a trial. Tell her I'm going to trial. I don't care anymore. And so he goes, okay. He goes up. We see him talk to the judge. She screams again. The judge tells her to calm down. Our lawyer then told us what happened. He said at that point, the judge was shocked. And he's like, they both want a trial now? The plea agreement was 20 hours of community service at our own discretion. He's like, you could have a priest sign it. You're done. And that was the end of it. And my lawyer was like, why won't they take the deal? And our lawyer said, Your Honor, because they're innocent. And he went, Chambers. Here's what he told us. We are not going to pursue anything beyond this. Nobody will get in trouble because we have to work with these people. The security guards who beat the crap out of you work with us every day because it's a large mall with a lot of issues. So we're on their side. You're lucky. Case dismissed. And don't file a lawsuit. The judge actually asked us before dismissal. He says, you're not going to file a lawsuit, are you? And we went, no. And he goes, okay, dismissed.
Wow.
And
Yep.
that's the
That's a
reason
shocking story.
I became an attorney for those kind of stories that they get people that where you're up against it like that and like, well, just say you did something, even if you didn't do it, just say you did it so we can get a little something from you and go forward. I mean, look at with President Trump right now, look at with all these people on the right that have a million allegations and accusations, and they say, you know what, I'm fighting this. I'm not taking some plea deal to say I did something I didn't do, but that's what they want. And I think we got to get back to that principle now that you are innocent until proven guilty. And
The reason I tell this story, Fani Willis can do whatever she wants. You know why? Because they know once this is over, she will not be disbarred. Nothing bad will happen, and they've got to deal with her every single day. And so they're asking themselves, do I really want to fight with an elected DA? She's going to cause a nightmare for me. Nah, let's just. So when my brother and I, who were the victims, tried to get justice, they said the cops are basically like, we work with these security guards every single day, and the last thing we want to do is create an acrimonious relationship because of you. And so we lose. We weren't able to sue or do anything. And even the judge was like, no one's going to file any lawsuits, right? And we're like, no. He goes, okay, case dismissed. Like as if to say, you say yes to me right now and we'll go back in that courtroom. We'll give you your trial.
right.
But I don't know if I believe it. Like typically you ask for a trial, they dismiss your charges instantly.
Oh yeah.
They're like,
well,
are we really going to do this?
or they'll hold out. Like, so a lot of times what I would see is that right before, literally it'd be on the courthouse steps, like the day that the trial was supposed to take place. They'd say, oh, this guy's facing 10 years, for something, whatever. And then they're like, how about 2 years? How about 1? How about 6 months? It's like anything because they don't want to go through with it, but it's like a bluff. I think, honestly, it reminds me of like what Nikki Haley's doing now, just staying in this race till the end. I'm like, if you go through with this, her trial date is South Carolina, your home state, right? John Kasich won in 2016. What are you doing? And I think she's holding out till a day or two before to be like, give me Secretary of State and I'll endorse you. Give me something. I want something.
I think she's holding out to
for Trump to go down.
Trump goes to prison.
And
I don't got to win. I don't got to win.
She's
anything.
the heir apparent because she has some delegates. She's been in the race.
Yep.
Last one left.
That's it.
She doesn't have. Does she have delegates?
Yeah, she
What
does.
have,
And
like
she'll
a
keep
couple?
getting
17
yeah, because
or
it's
something?
proportional. But
Yeah.
still, at that point, I think she's gambling because if you go to your home state and get crushed 70-30 and nothing happens to him, your career's over.
Yeah.
I don't think she cares.
You think she's just riding it
Yeah,
out?
Trump goes to jail and it's her. She's the nominee. And she's going to be thinking like, I bet after South Carolina, there is a strong possibility. I mean, I do see her potentially dropping out. I was surprised to see Vivek did. But she might say, we are talking about a president who's facing 100 years in prison. I don't think I should walk away from anything.
Right. Yeah, and
she does a thing where she doesn't move her mouth when she talks.
I can't stand it. And look, I just
like a
don't like
ventriloquist.
Nikki Haley. And like I
But
said,
she's her own puppet.
I told you guys, she endorsed my opponent, Claudia Tenney, in our last primary. She said she backed her. She had a Iron Ladies pack and backed her.
I'm
and it's
so
like
sick of
this.
that trash.
I know. It's like, are we Republicans or are we like woke now?
She's
That it's like
Hillary Clinton.
Exactly.
Nikki Haley is running Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign.
Exactly.
I mean, like I'm just
that
waiting for her
meme
to
where
get a
it's
pair of
the
pants.
Nikki Haley with the Hillary face like blended
for
with
sure.
the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, please. And that's why I'm terrified that if she gets Secretary of State or something, I just don't want to
But
see
why
her
would like
in
if
this administration.
I don't think that Trump would give her anything.
I think what it comes
Why
down
would
to
he?
is what
He wouldn't have
this
to.
20%, let's say 15%, 10% of Republicans that just want to vote for her because they don't want Trump. How do they get them back in the camp if Nikki Haley's adamantly against him? Like if they want her to come out with a full throat endorsement, be like, guys, you got to support the nominee. I took a pledge, support him. But if she doesn't do that, I think it's dangerous. So I don't want to give her anything.
Right.
I'm just saying, what does she want? And I think Tim's probably right that she's just going to keep rolling. But to me,
She wants Donald Trump to go to jail. Nikki Haley wants Trump to go to jail.
and
That's what she wants.
and he can't. He can't.
She wants the same thing the Democrats want. She wants to give money to Ukraine.
Yep.
She's a Democrat.
She wants
Yeah.
Trump to go to jail.
Yeah, exactly.
She's basically a Democrat.
Uniparty establishment.
Well, didn't Trump appoint her to the UN or whatever?
yeah.
Trump, not a good hiring guy. For all, he's good firing,
Neither
I guess.
is DeSantis. DeSantis isn't
Oh,
a good
DeSantis
hiring
was
guy
worse.
either. Terrible.
I mean, maybe there just aren't a lot of good people to hire.
We kind of have a talent puddle on this side
No,
instead
like-
of a talent pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think Donald Trump's issue was that he thought he won. He thought, okay, I win. I'll bring in the guys they want to bring on. I'll negotiate with them. But they were behind the scenes being like, we're not going to work with this guy.
Yeah.
He thought he'd play ball. He brought in John Bolton. Why? The machine told him to. And he said, okay. And they still stabbed him in the back. Trump thought, I play ball, I win a second term. They were probably thinking, like, if this guy gets a second term, he's off the leash. We better stop him now.
Yep.
Now I think Donald Trump gets hired, he may go a little ham. You know what I mean?
think if he'd have got a second term, it would have been no big deal. It would have been perfectly fine. For like Trump would have done the stuff that Trump does. The media would have behaved the way that the media does, but we wouldn't have. I don't think that we would have the clarity of what a problem the administrative state is, what a problem bureaucracy is, how much they behave on their own, what a problem security state is, what a problem the intelligence industrial complex, which is essentially the tech companies that are, because essentially they're, and I've said this before, they're another arm of the military industrial complex now. They're, so I think that we wouldn't have all of the insights that we have if Trump had gotten in and been elected again. I think that he probably wouldn't have gone after and made such a stink and had so many people be like, wait a minute, like people wouldn't have noticed.
No,
what was
he
going
wouldn't
on
have been
somewhere.
charged at all.
No,
they would have left him alone.
But we saw that. I think we needed him. Like, look, the spying on the campaign, the 702, the FISA, the elite, all that was happening to him, and that's what put eyes on it. And if you look back to when he got sworn in, how quickly did they get rid of General Flynn on that garbage? He was the guy they knew they needed to get out of the way because he was loyal. He was going to be looking at the intelligence and what's going on, and he would have Trump's back, like you said, because he was trusting these people. I'll put this guy here, put this guy here. They got him out of the way, and then the entire time they were a menace to his administration. And I think this time he's not going to let that happen again. I'm excited to see who he brings in because those people, to me, they're dead to me.
I have high hopes, but I don't have a lot of confidence because, again, I think Libby's right. I think the talent pool is a puddle because again, my conception of the problems in America are basically at the citizen level. The people are not interested in paying attention to the government. When they do pay attention to the government, they're easily manipulated. The government is actively manipulating people. We talked about the Smith-Mundt last night. Thomas Massey was here and we talked about the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act and that the federal government, and he confirmed that my impression of it is correct, that it is the federal government being allowed to propagandize the American people. That was in 2012 when that passed. And, so all the things that we know about the government doing things, all the things that we know that are outside of the extra constitutional or outside of the constitutional limits that the government does, they're all confirmed. That everybody has, they haven't been confirmed like in a court. Well, some of them have, but not all of them have. But they're all confirmed by admission or there's plenty of evidence for it and stuff like that. And nothing is changing. Nothing is happening. The problem does boil down to the population. And we lost the population when we lost the ability to educate people as liberals. When you started educating people through a critical constructivist lens, which is why everyone talks about CRT, because we taught people to not think about liberal principles, but to see everything through a lens of oppression, power versus not having power.
Sure, the oppression hierarchy.
But that has made people completely and totally blind to how our government works because they think that our government should be solving the oppression that is out there. That's all they
Obviously a total misconception.
Misconception, impossible, any number of problems with it. But that's the way that people behave, and that's the way people vote is the biggest problem. They vote as if the government can solve the problems the government says the government can solve, and they can't.
I think we need to discover some new ocracies or isms. Like the turn of the 19th century, 1900s, there were a lot of new ideologies that were emerging and began fighting with each other. And what I think about now is we're in a completely new era and new ideas, concepts, philosophies, they're discovered and formulated and created. And then people start to understand. Some of them are bad, but I think we need, when I look at where we currently are right now, I'm not sure that simply put, traditional American structure and constitution, all that stuff, as it stands right now, can work a system as large and as crazy, as technologically advanced. That is to say, I think it's a great foundation, but we need to start updating like the framework. I mean the figurative framework, not the literal. I think the Constitution is the best basis we have so far, but now we need to expand upon it. One of those things, really simply, like simple ideas, service guaranteeing citizenship. Initially, when this country was formed, it was you had to be a landowner, and you had to be like a white landowner for the most part, and it was basically the reason you had to be a landowner was not because they were like only the wealthy may vote. It was only the people we know who live here can vote. So if you live here, you can vote. If you don't live here, why would you vote? You're not part of this community.
Which makes perfect sense. You shouldn't be voting if you're not part of it.
So we need a restoration of this kind of concept. An idea that Vivek Ramaswamy brought up when I interviewed him the first time on the Culture War podcast was tying it perhaps to selective service. He moved away from it, but I think it's a really good idea. In order to vote, you must, male or female, sign up for selective service. This does not mean you will be drafted. It does not mean, it doesn't mean you're for war. It means, and you don't got to do anything. You don't got to go to basic training. It just means you're willing to say you will. I think that solves the problem overnight. You know why? I guarantee you the woke left will not do it. They will instantly say, no, I'm not doing it. Deal.
Well, sorry.
It's just that simple. If you're not willing to stand up and fight for your country, you don't vote. And if we remove all those people who are not willing to be drafted for this country and they're not voting, only the people who are willing will end up voting.
We'd get a highly conservative population.
Instantly.
I mean, it would.
Military service has long been a path to citizenship, and it makes a lot of sense because if you're willing to stand up and fight for the country, then you love the country and want to be part of it.
And this is a really simple thing because it's not even actually serving the military. It's literally just saying I'm available in the event of major war. And I guarantee you, these people who hate America will never. Right now, they're forced to do it. Now, I don't want them to. You think I want to take some woke communist and put him in the military if a war happens? Get out of here.
Well, they don't want to be there either.
Exactly.
Unless they want a sex change and they can get it for free.
Some people do that.
Yeah.
But I think you go to a woke leftist and say, if you want to vote in this country, you've got to sign up for selective service. They say, no way. They scream and they cry about it, and then they don't vote. And there you go. Overnight, problem solved. And then it'll take a generation of voting, but this will slowly start to skew things towards those who believe in civil service and responsibility to their country.
I am 100% in agreement that there are too many ignorant votes. Too many people are voting that have no idea what they're voting for. I don't like the idea of saying that we limit, or I don't think that, actually, no, it's not that I don't like it. I don't think that it will work to present the American people with the idea that we're going to limit who can vote.
Whether or not I like
it.
But you're right. So what we do is we create fragments of a bill in 10 different bills, and then each of them activates and it forms the exodia of laws.
I would love that. But I mean, the thing is, this is, in my opinion, our biggest problem is that the biggest problem is our government reflects our electorate.
But you know what it is? Yep. Part of that, too, is that we had, I mean, if we're going to go down this road, part of it is that we have had these massive get out the vote campaigns without actually any get out the education about the electoral system campaigns.
I think it really comes down to that. Look at Congress, right? I think it has like a 26% approval rating. That's lower than Joe Biden's. If you can believe it, can get worse.
But everybody likes their own.
Exactly, and that's the problem, that they look at it and then they send 90% of the same people back. So even now, there's people that'll blame the economy on what Trump did still, that are on the left, and they'll say, oh, no, Joe Biden's doing a great job. It was what he did right before Biden got in that caused it. And then they'll say, oh, well, Clinton's economy was so good because of Bush Sr., he had to raise those taxes, and then Clinton was allowed to ride this. So whatever side you're on, you're just going to look for something that basically is that echo chamber. Mm-hmm. And until the voters feel enough pain from the people they're electing, they're never going to change. You know, that's the pain's the universal language. You know, if you're not able to pay your bills and you're not able to take care of your family, and you know you're going to go out and get mugged and they're not going to jail, maybe you'll change your votes. Maybe.
I want to jump to this tweet. So with all the news about Trump, we have this from Myth Informed. It says Stephen Colbert projecting his unhinged Trump derangement syndrome on national television. I mean, look at his face. And Kyle Becker says this is not comedy. It is political propaganda dressed up as late night show. Almost all American programming is like this. This rant just happens to be more overt. I just saw this tweet. I did not actually hear what Colbert said. Let's react to it in real time.
I know.
You want to set the audio?
Yep. I know how numb we've become, but it's not normal. No other candidate for the presidency has ever had to pause his campaign to defend himself in multiple courts. And I would like to point out that in all 7 of his cases, no one doubts that he did these things. We're just sitting around patiently waiting to find out if the wheels of justice will grind fast enough for there to be any consequences. And the media is covering it like it's any other political story, like it's all horse race.
This man is insane.
But I thought Keith Olbermann was gone. No,
There is every single case against Donald Trump is BS.
Bogus.
Yeah.
Every single
single
one
one
is
of them.
trash. Every single one is total garbage.
That's the point
That
we
is
just made,
correct.
right? This
Yes.
is the echo chamber.
Yes.
Like, he's only getting charged because of who he is. This
Right.
is like, what?
And so,
He's only getting charged because people will still vote for him.
Yeah.
and Colbert is a psychotic individual.
Yeah,
These people
absolutely.
are genuinely mentally broken. So I can honestly assess Donald Trump. And I can say something like 59 Tomahawk missiles fired into Syria was one of the stupidest things he could have done. Hiring John Bolton was one of the stupidest things he's ever done in his life. Because Bolton, aside from being a psychotic warmonger who wants to invade Iran, also backstabbed Donald Trump. Donald Trump he hired a bunch of really, really bad people. And there's only because he's just good enough that I want to support the guy. But I do believe it's fair to say that his foreign policy was the best in my lifetime because they're all warmongers. And he was the only president who actually didn't declare a war, didn't start a war, and was pulling our troops back. That being said, I think it's fair on this show, we could absolutely address the nuance of the claims made against Donald Trump. But people like Colbert have no idea what's going on, will not look into what's going on, and will go on TV and scream into the camera, why is this happening? But Stephen, if you used Google, you might actually know why it's happening. Because Donald Trump, in the court case you're referencing on your show, did not actually have a trial to determine whether he committed fraud. The judge ruled summarily that he did. That's not a trial. He says nobody doubted that he did it. What do you mean?
And
He
then they
didn't even
slapped
have due process.
The guy
And
was
then they
totally
slapped
biased.
a gag order on
I mean,
him
like, what
and
was
wouldn't
his
even let him
wife?
talk about it.
Was it his wife that they found all the tweets and stuff they had
Yeah,
to delete?
she
And
was
like,
very
I mean,
biased.
look at the face on Colbert right now. Like, to me, that is the left. Remember how we had that end face where he just looks like insane? It's like the one with the lady screaming no. Remember, with the glasses and like the vest? It's just like that's them right now. Like that's
So Joe
Perfect.
Biden's on camera saying that if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting $1 billion. We've got communications and witness testimony that Hunter Biden and Burisma had contacted DC specifically for assistance in dealing with a prosecutor who was investigating them. We have Tony Bobulinski. We have Devin Archer, who have all made incriminating statements as witnesses, plus all the emails, and they just happen to be loans. We have the president, Joe Biden, flying on Air Force 2 to China for a private equity deal with his son. And with all of that, we sit back and say, there's no justice. And this man does not even mention it one time.
No.
The whole like Comedy Central's whole like late night stuff from the aughts and beyond with ever since Jon Stewart has been just absolutely totally propagandizing the American people to be against anything that a conservative says, and it's made it so that way conservatives can't present good ideas.
I somewhat disagree on early Jon Stewart Daily Show stuff. They praised James O'Keefe on like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
You actually got this relatively anti-establishment view from Jon Stewart. It was after he left, they homogenized, formalized, created this garbage like, what's his face, Klepper?
Trevor Noah was
Trevor Noah took over, and that was just formulate garbage. But then they created more shows. Samantha Bee got a show, John Oliver got a show, and it was the exact same formula. John Oliver is the worst because it's not even a show.
Yeah. Right.
It's news happened. Insert random joke unrelated to news. So like an example would be something like Donald Trump was ordered to pay $354 million. That's like getting in the bill in the mail for a cable thing. And you're like, well, I knew I had to pay it and we knew you were guilty. Little Timothy over here is upset because now the bill shut off his Beavis and Butthead. And you're like,
You're not even
that's
saying
all he's
anything.
doing.
And where's the comedy? That's the point. Like, think what you just said, Phil. You're talking about Comedy Central. Like, this guy's supposed to be a comedian. Like,
Look,
Jimmy Kimmel is supposed to
into
be a
his face.
comedian. Like, these people are angry, demented
into his
people
face.
who hate everyday Americans.
Look at this man.
Yeah.
They hate us. Like, this
Look
guy,
at him.
is he funny? You know what I mean, though? It's like the guy's just sick. He's angry. People are supposed to be tuning out to have a laugh, and they're watching this guy like he's livid.
You know what it really is? It's the what is it? The story of the Plato's cave. This is really what it is.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
This is a man
Yeah.
who is seeing
Yeah.
a shadow monster wiggling in the screen. He's going,
Yeah.
and we're all outside the cave being like, what is he screaming about?
Yeah.
That's a caterpillar, dude.
Yeah. I mean, Punxsutawney Phil's got more sense than him, you know?
Right.
You know what's really funny about Punxsutawney Phil is apparently that majority of the time he's wrong.
Yeah.
And so if you actually made the bet against whatever he said every time,
You know why that is? That he's wrong?
why?
Because they said 85% of the time he sees his shadow. So if it's just, he's basically always scared. So
What does it mean he
wrong.
sees his shadow?
Because then he predicts
If it's
going to
cloudy
be
out,
a
there's no
late
shadow.
winter.
He's
whatever
wrong.
it is he runs, whatever it is that he says it's going to be a longer winter, that triggers it 85% of the time he acts whatever.
He's wrong because it's an old wives' tale.
He's wrong because
no,
he's a
but
groundhog who can't predict the weather.
No, it's because
Maybe
if
he
it
could
is
predict
if it
the
is
weather, but-
overcast, there's no shadow to see.
shadow, yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, do we have clouds? Okay, we'll have more winter.
If you ever watch them pull Punxsutawney Phil out, he doesn't see anything or whatever. They pull him out, hold him up in the air, and then they read the thing. He ain't got no damn idea about shadows or anything.
Can we just pull up Colbert's face again? You guys want to screen grab that and just make it?
Yeah. I mean, that's
It's a
everything.
good. It's good
It's
for a
old man. It's old man yells at cloud.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Old man yells at cloud. What a sad.
He's a funny guy, though.
You know what else? You know what else
I mean,
wasn't
this is
mentioned?
at his expense.
Right.
You know
No,
what
that's
else
what I'm
wasn't-
saying.
yeah,
It's like,
I mean,
it's
the other thing that
he's
wasn't
not
mentioned
funny.
by Colbert is how yesterday the special counsel appointed to investigate Hunter Biden, who is also the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, arrested the FBI informant.
The whistleblower who was
Yeah.
accusing the Bidens of wrongdoing got arrested by Biden's DOJ.
By Biden's
is
DOJ,
unreal.
who's also the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, who we know he worked with Beau Biden or something. It's like shockingly corrupt.
If Trump
and
did
then
any of
Biden
this-
was asked about it today, and he's like, he's lying. So that's why he got arrested. And it's like, first of all, that's not a good reason to arrest him. But, this is the guy who came out. Everybody read his stuff. He talked to Congress and everything. Like it's just
And
so transparently
CNN said
corrupt.
now discredited allegations,
right.
even though he's not been convicted of any wrongdoing.
And there hasn't been any discrediting.
well, Biden said he lied,
That's
therefore debunked.
Yeah, but Biden said he lied at the same time as he went on about how Alexei Navalny, was imprisoned by the opposition. Could you imagine something like that? And it's like, dude.
It's in
Like,
progress
look at
right now.
yourself. Like, you
Literally.
are this guy.
Yeah.
You are the guy imprisoning your political opposition.
People are tweeting at me that a house in Loudoun County, Virginia has exploded.
Jesus.
What? That's across the street from us.
That's very close.
That's why they're tweeting at me. They said a house in Loudoun
I didn't
County,
hear anything,
Virginia
guys.
has
Did you?
exploded.
Is it like a gas leak?
I don't know.
To be fair, Loudon's very big.
Someone just
It's giant, yeah.
Wow.
just saw these tweets.
Oh,
in
sweet
Sterling.
Mary.
Okay, Sterling's pretty far from here.
Okay.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Looks like a gas.
This was-
leak.
Yeah,
second
there was
one?
another one too, right? Yeah, recently.
Sterling's like what, 40-minute drive from here. But is that Loudoun County?
It says it on the news. You got to believe the news, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, Sterling is Loudoun County, but Loudoun County is big. So this is right next to Dulles.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, it's at Dulles Town Center. Dude, Dulles Town Center
That's
is
a weird spot.
It's the mall that had the mosquito tone blasting, and I recorded it.
So
You know
there's
what that is?
No.
It's a high pitch frequency that only young people hear. And we went shopping there. It was like 2 years ago. And I instantly was like, we got to leave. Like, holy crap, it was painful. And I guess the idea is if you're over 40, you can't hear it. I don't know, it's like 30, 36. And it was, imagine you walked into a mall and it was a jackhammer from every speaker at max volume. So I took out my phone and I recorded it, brought it home, put it into Adobe, played the video, and said, okay, now many of you can't hear it, right? Because if you're older, you can't hear it. I'm going to pitch shift it. Shifted the pitch down, and all of a sudden you hear, like, and I think they claimed they weren't doing it, but I'm like, oh, they were totally doing it. Like, I have video evidence of it, and I think they should be sued for that. They should be illegal.
And it
Illegal
like
age
gets rid
discrimination.
of it's age
It makes young people
discrimination.
not want to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
And what bothered me about it is if a mom brought her like 6-year-old kid into the mall and she's like, or like let's say she's 40,
She wouldn't even know that.
and
her
the kid starts
is
screaming and
suffering.
crying, and then she's like, "What's wrong? Calm down." He's like, "It's loud." And she's like, "I don't hear anything." Then she goes to the doctor and she's like, "He's hearing noises."
Right.
Yep, and they're gonna
And
be
the
like,
next thing you know, the doctor says he's trans.
Right.
Time to cut off his balls.
That's
Yeah.
what's next.
They're gonna make us
You're
pay
hearing
for it.
weird stuff because you were born in the wrong body.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So hey, Sterling, Virginia is next to the airport. That's kind of freaky. Could you imagine being on a plane and when like debris is flying in the air? God. Anyway, what were we talking about before? Donald Trump or something?
Yeah, Donald Trump and how just our
Donald
justice
Trump.
system is.
Oh yeah, Stephen Colbert being a psychopath.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how insane these people are. It's like
Oh, there's still
Someone-
his face up there. Look
Yeah,
at
I
that.
know. It's like that's the perfect meme now. This is like
yeah, I wanna just let me just
Just definitely screen capture that one.
wait. I gotta wait for that stupid thing to disappear.
There we go.
we should get people on X, formerly Twitter here, that every time a leftist is saying something crazy or mad owl or somebody, you just send that.
This should be the new no
yeah,
guy.
exactly. Like that just pops up. It's like, there it is again. Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's the new boogeyman. But really, it is sad, right? Like we used to watch Jimmy Kimmel. Remember he had the Man Show and stuff. Like to see this guy like transitioned in front of our eyes from something where it was like, oh, he's kind of funny, he's kind of decent, like this would to like, what happened to you, man? Like you're not funny anymore. Like people can't watch this. You're angry,
just mad and confused.
Exactly.
You're an old man screaming
Yeah.
at a cloud.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Exactly. Like get
Basically
him, get him off, and get somebody funny on these shows.
He is doing the Keith Olbermann play. You know?
Old man screams at cloud.
Yeah.
I mean, Keith Olbermann is still doing the same histrionic shtick on.
Do they wonder why their ratings are so bad?
They don't, I think, worry about that. I think they think
Yeah.
that they're doing really important work. I was going to say the Lord's work, but they're probably atheists, so they probably don't think that that's right.
Keith
Yeah.
doesn't even have ratings.
Really? Because he's not even on
Isn't-
anymore.
He's not.
He
Is
just
he on
does little,
something
he
somewhere?
does little Twitter.
He
Every now and then
literally
I
is
see
like-
him do something.
Oh, remember? Didn't he leave though? And he snapped on Musk and said he was done with Twitter, and then he came back.
He just
Yeah,
screams
yeah.
He did
about
like
the-
some.
He freaked out at Riley Gaines.
Yeah.
We trashed him
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
All he does is scream on Twitter, and so he does the exact same thing that he's always done. He's just
Right.
doing it for free on Twitter.
Yeah.
Check this out. Daily Show's first return only got 930,000 viewers.
It's really
And
bad.
I got to be
low.
honest, it's fake.
Yeah, that's.
The
I don't believe
viewers
it.
are fake?
I do not believe these numbers are real. I think
So
it's,
you think they got way less?
yeah, I think they lie about numbers because they're like, we're guessing. We don't know how many people actually watched, but we do an estimate based on certain families we poll and then we extrapolate. So I'm just like, dude, let me tell you a story, okay? All the big news outlets were lying about their viewership so that they could sell ads. And I was hanging out with some people who worked at Mike.com. And this was at like the Trade Center. It was really cool. We were up on the top floors. And I was talking to one of them who worked there, who was a friend of mine, and she was like, all of the companies are doing this ad rights distribution thing where basically you create a digital news website. I've talked about this before, but you create a digital news website, you get 10 million views per month on your articles, and you can sell ads against those. You can say, give us $500,000, we will deliver you 10 million, hits this month. And so what's happening then is there's a limited number of advertisers. So one company tries to find a way to inflate their viewership. There were websites that produce those really awful articles where it's like 25 celebrity photos that will shock you, and every photo is a new page with 50 ads on it. Because what they're doing is mainstream high-profile media brand buys the rights to the clicks on the click farm websites. They generate a whole bunch of low-cost clicks from people in India or Turkey or whatever. Then the mainstream brand buys the rights and includes those in their numbers. So instead of 10 million, they can say our network has 30 million. And then they can go to the advertiser and say, give us the 500,000, we'll give you 30 million. And so I was talking to this woman and I was like, you shouldn't do it. And she goes, if we don't, we go out of business. Because even though all of the all the numbers that everyone's selling are fake, if we stick with our core numbers, all we're doing is telling advertisers we give them less views. And I was like, yeah, so it's basically fraud.
Right.
Like do fraud or lose.
Right.
And she's like, well, it's not really fraud because we do, like, people do see the ad. And I'm like, yeah, but they think they're buying an ad on a premium high profile media website. They don't realize what you're actually selling them is some garbage clickbait nonsense that no one's actually reading.
Right.
And she's like, if we don't do it, we're not going to make any money because we can't compete with the people who do. So when it comes to Nielsen ratings and all this viewership, I do not believe that a system which has no real hard data on the numbers other than extrapolation is being honest, because the Daily Show is an incentive to inflate their numbers by any means necessary. So they pay for the rating system, and the rating system says, yeah, you got 1 million.
And how
Did
bad
I get 1 million? Did I get more than that?
that
You gonna buy
sample
premium?
size is like 25,000 households or something out of however many millions. And they said it's so off that they really are guessing. But I think if people do that, like, Instagram or whatever, people who have followers do that and then say, oh, well, I'll sell you this or whatever. And they have fake followers, and the person thinks they're getting exposure to all these people and they're not, so it's like the same.
And it's not just about the TV stuff too. Here's what I find interesting. Here's an interesting question. Let's say the Daily Show actually got 930,000 viewers. 320,000 were 25 to 54. So in terms of going out into the wild, I'm curious. When we do a show like this show is multi-platform in a million different ways. We have the live show, we have the clips, and they do that stuff too to a certain degree, but not the same. We're on the forefront of it. I'm wondering who would actually have the largest footprint. A live show on social media that gets 500,000 key demo viewers with all of its clips and all of its ubiquity, and it's also and the conversation around it, versus the Daily Show who gets 320 key demo, but 1 million television viewers that we don't get elsewhere. My point ultimately is, I think the social media shows and the podcasts, Joe Rogan, IRL, Ben Shapiro, whatever, have more social media rippling effect than the Daily Show does. The Daily Show will put up the full show or a 7-minute or 8-minute clip, but IRL, Rogan will have 30-second to minute-long clips, and people will clip. I think the ubiquity of new wave podcasting media stuff is probably substantially more than
I think so
old
too.
school.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a great point. No, you're
No,
everywhere.
go ahead, yeah.
No, I was just going to say
Yeah.
you really are everywhere with it. And it does have this snowball effect where it keeps going, where really with TV, it's gone and somebody's got to upload the clip to YouTube or something. And it doesn't go into their ratings, but
So-
at least with yours, you see the views. They keep coming.
Ratings matter for selling ads. Fair point. And let's just say their numbers are real, 930,000, because they use the same system to measure Greg Gutfeld, which is 2.23 million. But Greg Gutfeld, it's 2.23 million, but only 328,000 are in the key demo, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But the question is influence. Who actually generates more influence? If he gets 1 million viewers, how many millions of people will see a short clip segment live show from IRL? Generally curious. I think the answer would be that obviously Greg Gutfeld's got bigger reach than we do, simply put. He's to several million views, and he's fantastic. I'm a big fan. But I generally think that the digital, younger-based shows, like Rogan's a better example. When Rogan puts out his numbers and he says we get like 120 million or whatever the number is, I bet it's 1 billion. I bet it's, like international and, okay, maybe not 1 billion, but maybe like 300-400 million. Because we're not just talking about how many people watched your show. We're talking about how many people heard your voice in the context of this show and you influenced them in some way.
Yeah.
You can't sell that. But my point is, like, how many people watched The Daily Show? They say it's 930,000. How many people in any way watch Timcast IRL? It's actually I can tell you for a fact. So when we do our sponsor deck, we know for a fact that with segments and a show outside, only internally, it's about 3.5 million per episode.
wow.
But that means like a 3-minute clip of the show. That
Right.
means the hour of the show. It means in every facet, the show has reached this many unique individuals. That doesn't include when the post-millennial posts clips from the show. I have no idea. We don't track those numbers.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, we can take a look at The Daily Show and they can see how much they get. I don't know how many people are clipping and sharing his show either, but I'd imagine we get more because we are internet-based and we fight with people on the internet.
Well, and like you said, you can quantify the way you did, but if somebody takes that clip and puts it on their Instagram or puts it somewhere else, you have no way to measure that now because they're not sharing a link to
Right.
your clip.
The other
They're
thing, too,
using
is
it.
The
So
kids,
it's like
the kids don't watch TV. The kids
Right.
watch YouTube. They watch, TikTok and Instagram. They don't watch TV at all. So if it doesn't scroll through their feed, they're not going to see it.
Right.
And Colbert isn't scrolling through anybody's feed, I mean,
Yeah.
it does when Myth Informed posts it because they're a great
Right.
account, but like they're not,
Right.
You're not just going to see randomly Colbert. You have
We're
to
going to
go
see it from
find
Tim's tweets now. That's
Right,
that's
we're
the
gonna
most
see
exposure
that.
he's going to get is his face
But
there.
it's derision.
Right.
Yeah.
exactly.
Mockery.
Yeah, that's what he gets.
which is what he deserves.
Only.
Frankly, yeah.
I wonder. There was the old school model that Jon Stewart and Colbert and the rest of them do, which is a show broken into segments where they talk about something that's pre-scripted. With Joe Rogan, we started to see the shift into longer form, free-flowing conversational stuff. The Tim Pool Daily Show is what do they call it? When you just what can I think of the phrase? When you just talk a flow of consciousness.
Stream of
freeform?
consciousness.
Was it
Stream of consciousness?
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Freeform, open.
Freeform. Like my morning shows, I don't write anything. It's funny when people are like, "Do you write a script for this?" I'm like,
Stream of
"Are you kidding?"
consciousness to monologue.
I look at an article, I read about it, I fact check it, then I line up, like it makes me think of things, and I'll put other stories in, and then I press record and just start talking. And I have no idea what I'm going to say when I'm saying it. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling about it. And I genuinely think this will replace, and I think it has replaced, obviously. Rogan's the most important journalist of our generation, and he won't agree. He'll say he's not a journalist, but he's literally sitting down and interviewing people on his show all the time.
And fact checking too in real time.
In real time.
Yeah.
And very important people he's interviewing, health experts, foreign conflict journalists, people like Matt Taibbi. And I don't see a world where, as of right now, without some kind of technological shift, culturally there could be something better. I'm not so stupid as to say it will never change. What I'm saying is right now, the return of Jon Stewart will never compete with a show in this format. TikTok will never compete with a show in this format. There are already people trying to, I love this. Have you noticed the TikTok trend of fake podcasts?
No.
Yep. So
Is it like a
Oh, it's-
Spinal Tap? Is it like
No,
fake?
no.
You make clips that look like a podcast, but you don't actually have a podcast.
Oh, you don't actually have it? Yes, I have seen
there will
this.
be a woman,
Yes.
and she'll be sitting at a microphone, looking off. The camera's pointed at her, and she'll be like, "No," and the clip will literally start like this: "No, you're wrong. You cannot have a dating scenario where the man thinks that he doesn't have to pay his fair share, and that's because men should be the one paying." And then it stops.
Mm-hmm.
She's not talking to anybody. There's no show. It's not real. They make these fake clips so it looks like it's a podcast.
There's never been an episode. It's just.
Yep. And they're not
There's
talking to
never been
anybody.
an episode,
Well,
yeah.
that tells you everything, right? Like they're trying to fake that they have that, and that is
Right.
that's the fastest growing thing. That's what people are watching now. Like it is replacing this. Like this basically the golden age of these kind of shows are done, and this is the new format.
It's very
This is-
postmodern.
I don't
Yeah,
think
very.
I don't think TikTok will displace what Rogan does.
No.
Like, I don't think there'll be a circumstance where young people are like, when I get the news, it's typically me scrolling for 2 hours through TikTok at random 1-minute videos of random people. No, they'll do that. I do that on Instagram too. I'm watching a lot of snowboarding recently because it's the season and it's really fun. But when it comes to reading and actually, I'm a weird person. I don't do what regular people do.
I watch a lot of sewing videos somehow on Instagram.
I read the news all day, every day, nonstop, 24/7. I'm on X and I'm reading articles. That's how I get the news. And then usually when I see something that I don't believe, I'll search I'll try to find the original source. And I will say this: one of the reasons we've often avoided being part of big wrong stories is that if I can't find an original source for it, we ignore the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has resulted in many instances where stories that have been big and reported, we have not covered at all. And then it revealed like a day later, the story was wrong. And we were like, oh, okay, now we can jump in with the source. But I think conversational open format has taken over. And unless there is a dramatic shift in technology, maybe VR podcast or something, false hangouts. Imagine one idea we had like 10 years ago.
False hangout.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll put a 360 camera in that chair.
Oh, okay.
And then if you have a headset, you can put it on and hang out in the room as if you're hanging out with us. You put on your Oculus or your Apple Vision Pro or whatever, and you'll be sitting in the chair. And then imagine what we could do with an actual program. So I still don't think you can ever beat human beings hanging out with each other.
No.
It's just an age-old human evolution thing. The format by which it's delivered. So that being said, the traditional news model, the Daily Show model, the being in a suit, it's done. And the closer we get to you are hanging out with us, the more dominant it will be. So once we get to the point where you can do 360 live streaming, which you can, it's just not very good yet. Then we could be like, oh, you can also watch IRL and VR put on your Oculus, and you're sitting at the table with us while we talk. And then maybe we should do that. I don't know.
And I think COVID really brought that out. It was so funny. There's people that like before COVID happened, I hadn't talked to in a year or 6 months, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, FaceTime me, and you sit there and you have a half-hour conversation. You realize you missed those interactions, and nothing can replace that. So I think that this is so much more authentic than this, reading off the teleprompter on the news, everything. Oh, we got to go to a break. We'll come back. Everything's all out there. And that's why you see even people who left the news, like Tucker, he's doing that, where he's sitting down with people for hours and just talking, and there's no cut, and it's all released. We're not going to make this look good. That's one of the things I
really like about doing this show. Yeah. It's just like hanging out and chatting for a couple hours. It's really fun.
It's real.
Yeah. We're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to help support our work directly, and you'll get access to our Monday through Thursday members-only uncensored shows, which come up at 10 p.m., and you'll also get access to our Discord server, where you can hang out with like-minded individuals. I could have done that faster. I'm not kidding. All right.
That was like an auctioneer, man. That was impressive.
Yes. High Res wants me to rap because he's like, I'm convinced you can do it better than Ben Shapiro. And I'm like, Ben Shapiro thinks he can talk fast? Dude, he has no idea what I can talk fast. And I have to consciously try to slow myself down because I talk too fast. And I don't know why. But there you go. But yeah, he sent me lyrics, and I was like, let's do like a diss track to force Ben Shapiro back in the game.
His comeback.
So he retired after getting his 2 weeks at number 1, and then number 16 on Hot 100. He announced he was retiring from the rap game. And I was like, I'll do a rap with High Res, and we'll include... Like, the idea is to include, like, a fake diss where it's like Ben couldn't handle the heat. The limelight was too much for him, so he had to bow out. And then...
He starts out with the hoodie on with his back turned. You don't know who it is. Turns around. It's like Ben Shapiro's back.
Well, that's up to him. I'm just saying, like, we will do a song
trying to help
where
him
I will say something like, Ben Shapiro couldn't handle the rap game. And after one song, he got overwhelmed and he bowed out. And so, but I told High Res, we got Eyes of Advice coming out in a week, so maybe after that we'll start working on it. And then we have a couple songs that are already done. Will probably just be released with the whole album. But there's like 2 more, maybe 1, but maybe 2 more big ones we want to do. And Phil and I were just brainstorming of Phil had a really good idea for a video. And so I think this is going to be
sick.
A good video.
I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, let's read some Super Chats. Tim Jake says, watching Disney implode is more entertaining than watching Disney shows. Did you see X-Men 97 they're making?
No.
So remember the original, you remember the 90s X-Men cartoon?
Yeah.
They are basically remaking it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So it is like a new season of the old X-Men show with the original characters and their interpretations or whatever. And I'm like, you are very desperate. I will not buy it, and I will not watch it.
But is it going to go woke? That's the question. Like, is it really going to be the old show?
I don't think so.
Or you think they're going to stay true to the...
I think... So we had a story we didn't get to, but Dylan Mulvaney went on some like unhinged rant about my 15 minutes are not over. I'm still here. Yeah. I'm not gone. And I'm like...
This guy won't stop.
Bud Light sponsoring Shane Gillis was like the bell tolls for the Disney. Shane Gillis is a funny comic. And he has no problem making jokes. Dave Chappelle, he did an Asian Chinese stereotype joke about, it was really good. When he did it in the past 2 specials. I absolutely loved it. He said that he took his wife's phone and he was like, I didn't know her password. Unfortunately, it was okay because his face ID. And so then he did a stereotypical like Asian face and he's like, and then it unlocked. And he is such a great comedian because that joke was good. He squints his eyes and then the phone opens. And then he was like, he ends the joke with, my wife had my phone. Oh. And I was like, how did you get in my phone? And she goes, I just mushed my nose. Dave Chappelle is a genius. But so when we see that stuff getting money, the writing's on the wall. These companies know they can't sustain trying to do this ridiculous garbage. I'm willing to bet they try to recreate the X-Men of the 90s with a more adult through line because we're all older. But they're desperately trying to get us to give them money. It ain't gonna happen.
Well, some people will get sucked in. I feel like that's like you said about TikTok, it only has that demographic and then you grow up. So this, once you get to 25, 30, there's more of us than there are of these young kids. And it's like, they just have that little market, but you get over that.
I predicted this. I said, typically what we saw was generationally, we saw the Abe Simpson phenomenon. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. And now what it is weird, scary to me, and it'll happen to you too. And Homer's like, no way, man. And then Homer was like, he goes to Hullabalooza and he's like, where's Grand Funk? Where's Zeppelin? Sonic Youth? What's this? That won't happen to us. And the reason why I think is because we're not having kids. I mean, we as a country and the world. And so it's actually simple what happens. You have, we'll just do generic numbers. You have 1 million people. They all listen to All That Remains. And they're all big fans and they're all screaming, it's the greatest band of all time. Everyone agrees, at least that's what I'm told. They have kids. Each of those 1 million people have 2.5 kids. So you're looking at what are we going to see? So that would be with 1 million people, 2.5, obviously 2.5 million in the next generation.
Yeah.
So now you have a promoter and he says, okay, what music should we do for a show to make a lot of money? We want to do the big festival. And one guy who's, slightly older says, everyone's favorite band is All That Remains. And they go, okay, what's our market cap? 1 million. And some of the other people are into it, so it might be like 1.25 million. Well, hold on. We have a younger generation of 2.5 million. What are they listening to? They're listening to Liiby and the Serges. And that's what the young people are into. So if we do a show and we have Liiby and the Serges headline, we could sell 2.5 million tickets. If we did All That Remains, it's 1 million. So let's do this. Headlining band Liiby and the Serges, we'll fit All That Remains in there somewhere. That's how it used to be.
Right.
Here's the problem. Now they're like, we got 1 million fans of All That Remains. What are the young people listening to? Honestly, there's only about 800,000 young people, so we should just headline All That Remains. Fair point. It's an older band, it's established, more people know it, and younger people don't have as much new things because no one wants to invest in a smaller market share. What's going to make money is X-Men 97. So instead of creating a new show for young people, there's not enough young people.
Young people don't have very much disposable cash.
Well, I was just going to say the older people got the money. Look at Mick Jagger. These guys, they're 80 years old, still dancing, and they're charging $500 or $1,000 a ticket because their fans are the ones with the money, and they can keep going. These young people got to pay, $50 to go to Drake or whatever they're listening to. Well, I guess he charges more because their parents pay, but
instead of making a new show and new IP for a new generation, they're just regurgitating the old stuff because the older generation is a larger market in terms of disposable income, but also in terms of size.
Right.
In 20 years, I think Gen Z and the millennials will be comparable in size. Gen Z is a little bit bigger. But I think what we're going to end up seeing is Gen Alpha. And moving forward, the generations are going to be smaller. And that means, very simply, you want to sell products that have the biggest market share. And there are more boomers and millennials and Gen Xers than there are Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So let's go with the older stuff.
Well, that's
Thank
like
God
when I was a kid, there was like nothing marketed to Gen X. Everything was marketed to like boomers and then suddenly millennials. And we were like,
skipped over, right?
What about us?
Let's read some more. We got Hunter Wilson who says, we had to put our sweet baby Clyde down last night at the wise age of almost 14. Rest in peace to our baby boy. And we'll see you on the other side. Hug your babies extra tight tonight. Sad to hear it. Sad to hear it. Let's go. We'll grab some more super chat. Rachel says, shout out to Mario Fratto. Glad to see you not only staying in the game, but for you to make it on Timcast. OG followers, proud of you. Keep it up. P.S. Miss your content. Will you be coming back to YouTube now?
I will have to make a new channel if I do that, because if you guys look, I'm still shadow banned. The only videos you'll find is if I come on somebody else's channel. So go back and watch the old stuff, knock yourself out, but I might be back.
Reaver says, I sent a quote in to install the Lenin statue. Please open it and review. We are listeners and would like to assist with this install. The first thing we have to do is there's a lot that has to be done before we can buy this thing, but we want to. And so we had some conversations to try and move this along earlier today to figure out the best way to facilitate a purchase. And so there's a lot. We got to do research. We got to figure out who we even contact. And that's going to cost a lot of money. Seriously, it's not as easy as just to call someone on the phone and say, I'd like to buy it. We actually have to have someone manage and run the sale of it. So there's a lot of costs involved. And they could say no. They might be like, I got to be honest, if it was me and I owned a historic piece, part of me is like, it's bad to destroy this thing. Because even if you don't like it, we want it to exist in a way so people know what it is. That being said, I do have some kind of like, man, it's the Seattle Lenin statue. It means something. For that reason, I think it's probably more valuable to desecrate. But the owner might say, I don't want to see it destroyed as much as I'm critical of it. Just because we own it doesn't mean we like it. But if your intention is to desecrate it, we'd rather see it in a museum. And if they said that, I'd say, a fair point. It should be in a museum with the critique and criticism of communism and what it represents and where the statue came from so that people can learn and understand. But I do believe we can convey those ideas with our toppled statue of Lenin with chicken shit all over it. Mm-hmm. And people watching live will ask that question and we'll put a little thing explaining. Lenin was a stupid guy, a very, very dumb man. And, his work got a lot of people killed. And so we don't like him.
Good explanation.
But it wouldn't be permanently destroyed. It could always be sprayed off. And, Kim, who's our chicken tender, said, we got to spray off the poop every so often. Otherwise, you can't see anything. It would just be a mound of chicken shit. It's like, okay, fair point. Fair point. Someone will have to hose him down. All right, we'll grab some more super chats here. The homeless veteran says, how do I get in the queue to tell my story about being on a mission overseas where we experienced possible UAP UFO engagement and how the U.S. Army denies the mission even took place? I have receipts and being on the FBI list. Shane Cashman, tweet at him.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because we are launching the Tales from the Inverted World live show, which the purpose of the show is for Shane, co-host and potential guests, to take your calls so you can tell him these stories.
That's going to be really cool.
Oh, yeah. I think it will likely be a membership thing, just like the Discord server. So you sign up to be a member. You then submit your stories to call in and you talk to Shane live on the show. The main point of the memberships is that for one, it funds the operation. Like we sell a product. Like, here's a thing we made. If you like it, pay $10 a month. You get access to all the stuff. In terms of screening to submit questions, if we do open inquiries, we get 10,000 emails. We can't sift through them, and most of them are not good. Some of them are trolls. Some of them are insults. You respond to one guy and then he insults you. I'm not saying everyone does that. I'm saying trying to dodge and filter through that can be tough. By making it through members only, you reduce dramatically down to only the authentic core who genuinely care and really want to be involved. So, you ever see those people on the street that give out CDs?
Yep.
They still do it for some reason.
Yeah.
They do still do it.
The important lesson, but 20 years ago when my friends were in bands trying to promote their music, the important lesson everyone would always tell you is never give the CD out for free. Sell it for $1.
Right.
Because if someone pays for it, they're more likely to keep it. If you hand it to them, they'll throw it in the garbage.
Yep.
Make sure, for two things. Only the people who really are interested will take it. And people who pay for things are more likely to value it.
That's the whole problem in society today, right? That all these people are getting free stuff and they abuse it, just like the country. You know what I mean? It's like they didn't earn it.
Yeah. All right. Big 25 says, Tim, last spring you made the convincing argument that we need to have more kids to outpace the liberals who kill their own, will self-sterilize and choose not to propagate. Well, here we are 10 months later, adding to the conservative pool. Welcome to this brave new world, little Augie. Congratulations.
Hey, congratulations.
Awesome. Congrats.
I took, on today's episode of The Culture War, I took the Jonathan Haidt Moral Foundations test, and I came up as Liberty Conservative.
Interesting.
Yeah, you should take it. IDR Labs.
IDR Labs Moral Foundation Test.
It is such a, I think, so I used to come up as Liberty left-leaning, but my moral foundations are very much the same. I think it probably is more related to the questions pertaining to authority, which have gone up, which resulted in a shift towards conservative. So my liberty is much higher than my authority, but my authority is now closer to that of a conservative, where it used to be a little bit lower, which probably resulted in me being towards left liberal. But I recommend everybody Google search IDR Labs Moral Foundations Test and take it because it's fun. And these questions are brutal.
Is this the one that starts with a new action figure becomes all the rage among the boys in Timmy's class?
No, it starts with,
It starts different for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, the reason I brought it up on the Culture War show is because I want to make a point about people who care about this country. And I said one of the questions on it has to do with using a flag of your country as a rag. And the first question that popped up, to my luck, was, Sarah is cleaning and she realizes she ran out of rags. She sees in storage a flag from her home country and she decides to use it as a rag to clean her house. Is that okay? And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, that is not okay. Liberals don't care. Liberals
No.
say, yes, fine, who cares?
No.
Me, I'm like, if someone grabbed an authentic American flag, like, okay, I'll say this. If you buy a flag from a grocery store on your own and you desecrate it, destroy it, whatever, that's fine. I don't care. That's yours. If a flag was flown legitimately for any reason, at a school even, and it was in storage and you took it out and tried to use it as a rag, I would physically stop you.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
I'm not saying I'd attack you.
It
I would
seems
walk up
like
to you and
a
I'd say,
little
so
over the top.
it's
It
literally
seems like
a-
there's got to be some paper towel somewhere.
yeah, but it's like it made me laugh for how like disturbing it is. And you think about any other country, if that kind of stuff was happening, you'd be shamed. The shame alone would be enough not to do it. And here it's like people are proud. They'll put it on TikTok doing something like that, and it's nobody cares. Like they're not.
But I will stress, if someone's like, I got an American flag and I'm going to burn it, I'm like, okay, like you can buy a flag, you can burn it. I don't care that you did that. I personally am not a fan of it, but it's your property. You can speak and express yourself. But if you took a flag, like, I'll tell you this, and there are varying degrees of it too. If a flag was purchased and then flown at a school, and then you tried to destroy it, I would be like, no. Because that was like a public display that was representative of the community and its values. To varying degrees, if it was your property, you purchased it, and you were trying to destroy it, I would express displeasure and distaste. I would ask you not to do it, but I have limits based on libertarian principles. That being said, if this flag was ever flown at a military base for American troops or whatever, we're going to have a civil dispute over whether you have a right to try and desecrate that flag, because I will stop you.
Well, and I agree with you on the right. I'm just saying, like, people died for that flag. Like, to me, you're just a real piece of garbage if you do anything to an American flag. So there should be a point, even if you're libertarian leaning, say, okay, you have a right to do that. But nobody should talk to you. You want to talk about canceling people. They want to cancel people for a bad joke, and people are burning flags. Like, they should just be ostracized. You know, you're done. Let's
read some more. PPS Design and Build LLC says, damages to who? There were no victims, but the state was harmed to the tune of $300 million. And what was the basis for damages assessed to the state? Nonsense. But Stephen Colbert, who is one of the stupidest human beings imaginable, goes on TV and goes,
and we got images to prove it.
It was wild on Jack Posobiec's Human Events Daily today. He had Mike Benz on, who said if the Department of Justice wins the case against Trump, Trump is going to die in jail.
Well, yeah.
Which is wild.
Trump's nearing life expectancy.
Trump is nearing life expectancy, but you have Biden going out there today complaining that Navalny died in prison, and that's exactly what he's trying to do to his political opponent. He's trying to make his political opponent die in jail. That's crazy.
Coleman Berg says, I know this is unrelated to anything, but I just wanted to announce that my grandfather, Eddie, died. He was a proud American veteran, and he hated what is happening to this country. I will strive every day to make the country he fought for. Sorry to hear it, man, but glad to hear that you're going to stand up for those values and what your grandfather believed in. Tremendous respect.
Amen.
Absolutely.
The homeless veteran says the majority of top brass in the U.S. military are leftists. I remember hearing Milley praise Stalin and Mao when I was a PFC, and he was our brigade commander. Not surprised.
Real.
And
That's
you want to know
shocking.
something that's crazy about that? When I was talking about Claudia Tenney, when she voted for the taxpayer-funded sex changes single issue vote, she claimed she got a call from General Mattis and he asked her to do it. That was Mattis, who was the mad dog and everything.
That's
and I'm
not-
like, I don't care if the Lord called you, like, that's wrong.
Look,
like, bottom line, I don't. But if it was him, then
Don't
they all
butcher
got to
our
be
guys.
woke.
Like,
Anybody,
that's not
listen,
like
anyone of sufficient rank in the military is a politician. Any general, if you're a general, probably if you're a colonel, possibly if you're a major, right? But if you're 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star general, you're a politician, because if you want to get a promotion, there is no way to get around it. The reason these guys are doing this stuff isn't because they're true believers; it's because they believe in their careers and they want to continue up
Phil,
the
what you just said,
the
and
ladder and stuff.
Those 4-star generals right now. There's 44 4-star, in the military brass now. There was 7 during World War II. And you could name, MacArthur, Pat, and everybody. It's like now there's 44 for what?
Well, and
these
then
are just
there's-
careers, and then they got staff, and it's just bloated up.
Don't forget Admiral Rachel Levine.
Oh, I mean, you want to? I'm not going to eat tonight.
Let's read. All right. We got Electrify 928 who says, Colbert is not stupid. He is evil. They know what they're doing. Kimmel too. They are getting paid to produce propaganda. It's worse than that. Shout out to Dickie Barrett of The Defiant and of the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, formerly. He was the announcer for Kimmel, and they were friends for a long time. and I think he says they still are, but he got fired because he did not want to get the vaccine, and he was working remotely. Jimmy Kimmel went on his show and said that if you are unvaccinated and you go to the hospital, they should not treat you because if you want the horse paste instead, that's what you should get, or something like that. I want to be very clear. I think he was saying the people who want ivermectin over the vaccine should not get medical treatment. And the general concept of if you don't fall in line with what we think you should be doing, you should die. And I'm like, your friend of 20 years is right there and he's saying he won't do this. Jimmy Kimmel's effectively saying, like, if you go to the hospital sick, you should die. I'm like, that is not a good person. That is a sick person. Jimmy Kimmel is an awful guy. And I will also stress the media loved the propaganda of when people were claiming Kimmel might be in the Epstein documents. They all came out, and even Bill Maher was like, what? Of course not. He's friends with Epstein's chef. Mm-hmm. He may appear in the Epstein documents. He did not, but like the potentiality was because information pertaining to the restaurant that he was involved in may have been in there and Kimmel's name might have come up. That being said, anybody insinuating that he was like involved with Epstein, like slim to none, but I mean, he's a celebrity in the periphery of Epstein. That wasn't unreasonable. Who knows? But the media went nuts and they were like, no, it'll never happen. I'll get out of here. Legama says, we millennials had Stewart, Noah, Colbert, B, and Oliver for our idiotic indoctrination smuggled inside so-called comedy. Gen Z has it far worse. Their thoughtless talking points come from TikTok, Snap, and Insta, an even lower tier of propatainment for idiots. Yes, but we're on there too. You know what I mean? It's just, we get banned.
I got banned from TikTok before. I think I posted something about guns. They don't like that stuff.
I never had one.
All right, here, we'll grab one more super chat. Poison Fist says, Arlington officials never reported finding the body of the man whose house exploded in December.
Oh, really?
After cops were called because he was firing off flares. He had crazy social posts, lines up with other possible failed MK Ultra ops. I think they said that he could have vaporized himself or something. Like it blew up with him in it and bits and pieces.
I've been reading pieces that are saying that there are still firefighters trapped inside.
Right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Inside where?
apparently they were there on the scene trying to fix something or whatever, or in preparation.
You mean right now in Loudoun County?
In Loudoun County, yes. That's what
All right, everybody.
I understand correctly. So.
If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us. Because this show is made possible thanks in part to viewers like you. If you like the work that we do, become a member and you help make it all possible. You get access to our Discord servers. But don't forget to also follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Mario, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, thanks for that, Tim. I just wanted to say first happy early birthday to my son, Mario Jr. He's going to be 2 at the end of the month. Hello to my beautiful wife, Mariah, my grandpa, my brothers, mom and dad. It's cool to be on here. Guys, if you want to support me, if you want a real America First candidate, if you want somebody who's going to take on the uniparty establishment, take on the rhinos, and clean the Republican Party up first before we go after the left, please support my campaign. Go to marioforcongress.com. Do whatever you can. It goes a long way. My opponent, Claudia Tenney, is sponsored by Pfizer. She's backed by Google, BlackRock, Verizon. All right, we're getting money just from people. So we need all the help we can get. Support us. Follow me at Mario Fratto on Twitter. Go on Facebook. And I'd appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me on too, guys. I appreciate it.
Right on.
Cheers, man. So tonight I'm actually going to plug something. A friend of Mike Martin, our guitar player, a friend of his and his wife, their child needs a heart transplant, or has a heart issue. So there's a GoFundMe set up. I know we generally don't like GoFundMe, but they are not involved in politics at all, so they don't give a shit. They're just trying to save their kid. So if you can, I retweeted the GoFundMe. It's at the top of my Twitter page right now. If you can give a little bit of money or whatever, that'd be great. If not, your prayers would be great. I am Phil That Remains official. I'm Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Amazon Music, YouTube. The internet. And don't forget, the left lane is for crime. Liiby.
I'm Liiby Emmons. I'm with the Post Millennial. You can come check out the work that we're doing at thepostmillennial.com. We're always glad to have you subscribe at thepostmillennial.com/subscribe. And you can find me on Twitter at Liiby Emmons. Thanks.
And I am Serge.com. I want to shout out another Mario, kind of funnily enough. I told you about earlier in the show.
Yeah.
I bought an EQ unit from him earlier, somewhere near where the new studio is, actually, near that area. And I just want to shout him out. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It was he's a fan of the show. He watches all the time. He's like 65 or something like that.
Cool.
So an older member of the Timcast, if you will. That's all. Cheers, guys.
All right, everybody. We'll have clips up throughout the weekend, many of them, and then we're back on Monday. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all then.